The Senate will come to order. Senator Westland.
Mr. President, I impose a call of the Senate.
The Senate is now under call. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, President Champion. I move that further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and that the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, if you'd be so kind as to stand. In our Senate tradition, we start with prayer. And today's chaplain is Chaplain Major Charles Gormley. He's from the Wings Chaplain. He's the Wing Chaplain of Grand Forks Air Force Base. And following the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you would, I invite you to pray with me. Let us pray. Oh, gracious Heavenly Father, we stand before you today with a purpose. We come here to make a difference. We stand in this chamber today as stewards of a great legacy. We thank you for the endurance of the Minnesota spirit, a spirit that thrives in the frost and finds a way through the storm. Lord, we ask that you move in this room today. Ignite a spark within us. Fill this space with an unshakable and active hope. Not a hope that sits back and waits, but a hope that rolls up its sleeve and gets to work. Dear God, equip our senators. Equip them with a vision that sees a way forward where others only see a dead end. Arm us with an iron will to champion the hope of every family, worker, and child in this state, and awaken a spirit of excellence within us that refuses to settle for just good enough. Grant us the courage to speak the truth even when the room is silent. May the work done in this chamber today be marked with an energy that inspires hope and a commitment that never wavers. Help us move forward with heads held high, hearts wide open, and resolve that can never be broken. And Lord, remind us of a noble calling, that we are here to serve, we are here to lead, we are here to fight for the future of every Minnesotan. And finally, God bless our troops, God bless freedom, God bless our state, and God bless the United States of America. We pray this all in your precious and holy name. Now let's get to work. Amen.
Thank you, members. The secretary will take the roll.
Abler, Barr, Bolden, Carlson, Champion, Clark, Coleman, Swadzinski, Dames, Dibble, Dornick, Draheim, Drazkowski, Duckworth, Farnsworth, Fateh, Frentz, Green, Grunhagen, Gustafson, Hochschild, Herr, Heinzman, Hemmingson Yeager, Hoffman, Holmstrom, Housley, Howe, Jasinski, Johnson, Johnson Stewart, Klein, Coran, Kroon, Kunesh, Kupek, Lang, Latz, Liskey, Limmer, Lucero, Mann, Marty, Matthews, Maye Quade, McEwen, Miller, Mohammed, Murphy, Nelson, Umu Verbaten, Pappas, Pa, Port, Pratt, Putnam, Rarick, Rasmussen, Rest, Seeberger, Utke, Weber, Wiesenberg, Westland, Westrom, Wickland, Zhang.
Members, a quorum is present. The following members intend to vote from a remote location under Rule 40.7. Senators Carlson and Fateh. Members, if you want to follow along with me, I'm reading from today's Senate agenda. It is dated Friday, May 15, 2026. We will begin at the second order of business, which is executive and official communications. The following communications was received and referred as indicated. We'll move to the third order of business, messages from the House. The secretary will read the message.
Mr. President, I have the honor to announce the passage by the House of the following Senate file herewith returned. Senate file number 3720, a bill for an act relating to workers' compensation, adopting 2026 recommendations of the Workers' Compensation Advisory Council. Signed, Patrick Duffy Murphy, Chief Clerk, House of Representatives.
Members, no action is required. We'll go to the eighth order of business, which is introduction and first reading of Senate bills. The bills listed on today's introduction calendar are given their first reading and referred as indicated with no modifications, members. We'll now move to the ninth order of business. Under motions and resolutions, there are author motions to be read at the desk. The secretary will read the motion.
Senator Marty moves that his name be stricken as chief author, shown as co-author, and the name of Senator Swadzinski be added as chief author to Senate file number 2255. And Senator Swedzinski moves that the name of Senator Kunesh be added as co-author to Senate File Number 2255. And Senator Umu Verbatim moves that her name be stricken as chief author, shown as co-author, and the name of Senator Wickland be added as chief author to Senate File Number 3871.
Members, we will adopt the author's motion as one motion. All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, I'll call on some individual members. We will start with Senator Murphy for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House File Number 3825 be taken from the table.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senator Murphy.
Thank you, President Champion. I move that House File Number 3825 be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Members, we will now go to Senator Weber for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House File Number 3298 be withdrawn from the Committee on Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate, given a second reading and placed on general orders.
Members, any discussion? Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Weber, for this very important motion, which I support. Members, I would encourage you all to support this motion. It relates to a non-controversial matter that will promote clean water, Mr. President, and I want to add that it has already passed the other body 125-4. Senator Weber and I both support this bill because it will allow funding to remove and replace underground tanks that threaten the water supply. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. I urge a yes vote.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the Weber motion say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Secretary will give the bill its second reading.
House File Number 3298.
Second reading. Members, we'll now go to Senator Duckworth for a motion. Senator Duckworth. Senator Duckworth is not going forward. Thank you. I'm now calling on Senator Kunesh for a motion. Senator Kunesh is not on the floor, so we will keep moving. Remaining on the motions and resolutions, I'll call on Senator Murphy. Members, you got to be here. We're now calling on Senator Kunesh for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the foregoing recommendations and conference committee report on Senate File 4282 now be adopted and that the bill be repassed as amended by the conference committee.
Members, you heard the Kunesh motion. Senator Kunesh, will you tell us what are the differences now that the bill has returned to us from conference committee?
Sure. First of all, I want to start by thanking the Senate conferees, Senator Swedzinski, Senator Clark, and Senator Rarick for their time last night. I also thank our nonpartisan staff from SCRFA, House Research, and Revisor's Office for their work on putting this all together. Last night, we concluded that we would, let me look here just one second here. Adjust those appropriation amounts for forecasted programs that are outdated by the next economic forecast. We want to make sure that actual program costs have changed relative to the February forecast and make those necessary adjustments to make sure that everybody is getting the funds that they need. What we did last night is we adopted Senate language that includes highly qualified paraprofessional language to ensure that Title I special education paras remained credentialed and licensed. We included language to provide a to provide funding in tribal contract aid if the permanent school fund constitutional amendment passes, allow school districts to use operating capital to add capital revenue to pay utility service costs. We extended already encumbered grants to schools to construct gender-neutral bathrooms, and then added 2 school district fund transfers, West St. Paul, Mendota Heights, Egan, and Maple Lake transfer to their budget. And Mr. President, that's what this did, and I ask everybody to vote green.
Any other discussion on the Kunesh motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
Senate File Number 4282, a bill for an act relating to forecast adjustments, making forecast adjustments to pre-kindergarten through grade 12 education programs, etc.
Third reading. Any discussion before we go for final passage of Senate File Number 4282? Seeing none, the Secretary will take the roll for final passage. Members, please vote. Senator Umu verbatim for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Say it one more time.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
And Senator Latz votes aye.
And Senator Latz votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Liskey votes no.
Senator Liskey votes no.
Senator Rasmussen votes no.
Senator Rasmussen votes no.
And I believe we're waiting on a couple more, Mr. President.
Senator verbatim. Umu verbatim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Kupek votes aye.
Senator Kubek votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
And Senator Mohammed votes aye.
And Senator Mohammed votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Housley votes no.
Senator Housley votes no. Senator Umu Verbatim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Hoffman votes aye.
Senator Hoffman votes aye. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 34 ayes and 33 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Remaining on the motions and resolutions, I'll now call on Senator Murphy to designate special orders.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 26, I designate the following bills be made special orders for immediate consideration.
Members, the special orders list is on your desk dated May 15, 2026. We'll begin with House File 3489. Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Before us today is House File 3489, which will establish a felony offense of grooming, as well as address other gaps in law that make it far too easy for adults to prey on children. Members, the reason for this bill is heartbreaking. A band teacher in my own school district abused his position to groom and sexually assault multiple students. Gaps in our current laws delayed investigations, and this teacher went largely unpunished. On your desk is a story from the advocate who has worked tirelessly on this bill named Hannah, and I'm going to read it briefly because her story is so crucial and instrumental to why we are here today. Hannah is a victim survivor of grooming and sexual assault by her high school teacher. Over the course of her 4 years in high school, he began isolating her from friends, normalizing touching her, and communicating as if they were close friends. On an international band trip, this teacher began to show romantic interest, manipulating seating charts so that Hannah would be seated next to him, pulling her away from groups on tours, and slipping secret notes in her suitcase. On the morning of her last day of high school, this teacher sexually assaulted her in the band lesson room on school property. She graduated the next day, and the sexual abuse continued early into her college years. Due to the years of grooming, she believed she was an active participant in her abuse and that she had caused it to happen. She did not tell anybody that it had happened until Detective Chad Clausen from the Eagan Police Department found her in 2022 during a separate investigation into this teacher's misconduct. Her story revealed numerous gaps in law, and that is what this bill aims to fix today. I want to say that Hannah has often said that when she shares that she was groomed and sexually assaulted, most people focus on the sexual assault as the most horrific and impactful moment. But for her, the 5+ years of grooming were even more harmful to her long-term health and well-being. It was half of a decade of psychological manipulation that harmed her understanding of healthy relationships, her own value, and her ability to trust others. Grooming was not a precursor to a crime. The abuse, the grooming itself was the crime, and with House File 3489, we will make it a crime. This bill defines and establishes the crime of grooming. It requires police departments, county sheriffs to notify the appropriate licensing boards when a teacher is criminally charged with an offense. It incorporates grooming into crimes committed by persons in positions of authority and updates the school violations language to make sure that prohibited occupational relationships like a teacher and an enrolled student are unacceptable regardless of the age of the student. This also asks that DCYF update their existing mandated reporter training so educators and mandated reporters are aware of their duties and obligations and what grooming actually looks like. And last, there is going to be appropriations for MDE to hire more investigators. Members, I want to pause here and just say, and share a story maybe. Grooming and sexual assault to children can happen to boys and girls, but girls in particular are targeted for grooming and predatory behavior by adults. I was 9 years old the first time a grown man said something sexual about my body. When I was 14 years old, my best friend was in a relationship for years with a 24-year-old man. It was not uncommon for girls as young as 13 and 14 to have boyfriends who were in their 20s. What is happening to young girls and women in this world is truly, truly awful. And our statutory construction often ignores that reality that far too many of us experience. And today we have the opportunity to say no more, that this is wrong, it should be illegal, and we need to address it. I want to thank my co-authors on this bill, Senator Rasmussen, Senator Hoffman, and Senator Duckworth, as well as Representative Bennett, the chief author of this bill in the other body, who has been a true partner in every way on this bill. I want to thank particularly the nonpartisan staff, Ken Backus, Anne-Marie Lewis, Bjorn Arneson, and Chris Turner, our DFL researcher, Jackie Clinton, and my legislative assistant, Ayanna Smith-Koyman, and our researcher, Ryan Majerus. This has been a true collaboration between our education area and our public safety area in a way that I had never done before. But mostly, I want to thank Hannah and Detective Clausen. They're in the gallery this morning, and they have worked with me so closely. Hannah, thank you for your bravery, for telling your story over and over and over again, for turning something so painful and difficult into meaningful legislation. It takes so much work and vulnerability to continue to show up again and again to advocate for change, and I'm just so grateful to know you and to have done this alongside you. Detective Clausen, your expertise in criminal statutes, sometimes even knowing more than our own researchers, has meant that this bill ends up in the exact place that will stop and prevent more children from being abused. On your desks, members, you will find that letter from Hannah alongside a letter of support from the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association. I hope I can earn your support with this bill. Mr. President, before we move any further, I do want to offer the A11 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade offers the A11 amendment. The Secretary will report the A11 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade moves to amend House File Number 3489, the unofficial engrossment, as follows. Page 7, line 16, delete 42,396,000 and insert. This is the A11 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade to your A11 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, when we left Finance Committee, we'd only funded this bill for 1 year. Now that we have a global deal and understand how we're spending money, this is funded in the tails as well. That is what the A11 amendment is. It's appropriations.
Any other discussions on the A11? All those in favor of adoption of the A11 say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Any other discussion or amendments before we go to third reading? Seeing none, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 3489, a bill for an act relating to education, requiring reporting to licensing boards, establishing the criminal offense of grooming.
Third reading. Any other discussion before we go to final passage? Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in support of House File 3489, and frankly, I believe this bill should not even be controversial. This legislation recognizes a simple truth. Parents send their children to school expecting them to be educated, protected, and safe. We want our kids to learn math and science and reading and spelling, not how to have gay sex or how they can allegedly change their gender, and certainly not to become exposed to predators, manipulated by ideologues, or hidden from their own mothers and fathers. In Minnesota, public education is compulsory. Children are required by law to attend school. Republicans have fought for years for school choice to give parents and children options, but Democrats in education in Minnesota have fought school choice every step of the way. Because the state mandates attendance, many parents can be prosecuted if they fail to send their children to public school. And when government compels attendance, government assumes a profound moral responsibility to protect those children. That responsibility has too often been ignored. Across this country, we have seen an epidemic of sexual abuse involving minors in public schools. We have seen scandal after scandal involving teachers, coaches, counselors, and school employees abusing positions of trust. We have seen cases where warning signs were ignored, where administrators failed to report misconduct, and where institutions protected adults instead of children. House File 3489 finally takes into account, sorry, Mr. President.
Senator, are you finished? Just want to remind us.
No, I'm not. House File 3489 finally takes some meaningful steps to address the reality. This bill strengthens reporting requirements, establishes protections during field trips and overnight events, creates grooming-related criminal penalties, and improves mandated reported training. I'm ecstatic Democrats are finally willing to join me in standing up to teachers' unions and education in Minnesota on this issue. Because for years, parents have been raising concerns about transparency, about inappropriate sexual contact in schools, about activist bureaucracies keeping secrets from families, and we are mocked, dismissed, and attacked for speaking up. For years, conservatives have fought for school choice because parents deserve alternatives when this falls short to their children. And Democrats fought us every step of the way. They trapped countless families in systems they could not escape. If the state is going to compel attendance in public schools, then parents deserve absolute transparency and absolute accountability. Instead, too often, the education establishment has fought transparency at every turn. Parents have been told they do not have the right to know what their children are being taught. They have been shut out of the curriculum discussions. They have been labeled extremists simply for objecting to sexualized material being introduced to minors. And why? Because the bureaucratic instinct has become to protect institutions first and children last. House File 3489 is acknowledgement, whether you want to admit it or not, that parents are right to be concerned. This bill recognizes that grooming is real, it recognizes that boundaries matter, it recognizes that secrecy creates danger, and it recognizes that adults in positions of authority must be held to the highest standards when children are involved. I wish this bill had come sooner. I wish the education establishment had listened to parents years ago instead of circling the wagons around bureaucracies and unions. But today, at least we have an opportunity to do the right thing. Vote green. God bless America and protect our children from Satan's wrath. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, the secretary will give the bill. Senator Maye Quade, you're the author, so is it okay for me to go to for the final roll call? The secretary will give the bill, will take the number for the final roll call, for final passes as amended to House File 3489. Members, please vote. Members, we're waiting for the Rule 40.7 remote voting reports. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
Senator Limmer votes aye.
Senator Limmer votes aye.
And thank you, Mr. President. I think we're waiting on one more.
Senator Umu Verbagen, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Gustafson votes aye.
Senator Gustafson votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Kupek votes aye.
Senator Kupek votes aye.
And Senator Wickland votes aye.
And Senator Wickland votes aye. All members having voted who desire to vote.
Mr. President, sorry, Senator
Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye. All members having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 66 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for a brief recess so we can honor our guests in the gallery, Detective Clausen and Hannah LaPresto.
On that motion for a brief recess, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Senate is now in recess. The Senate will come back to order. We'll now go to House File 5074. Senator Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the annual claims settlement appropriation bill. Since 1976, the joint Senate and House Subcommittee on Claims hears and recommends whether to pay claims against the state by various people who cannot proceed against the state under state tort claims. At the outset, I want to say thank you to the staff who painstakingly reviewed reams of claims, including Jason Keenley, Assistant Deputy Revisor and Counsel for the Joint Subcommittee on Claims. I'd also like to thank my fellow subcommittee members, the Senator from East Bethel and the Senator from St. Paul. This year, the Claims Bill, Mr. President, appropriates just over $5.1 million, which includes payments for 3 exoneration claims and a payment for permanent injuries. The bill includes a Department of Corrections injury claim involving a permanent ankle injury sustained while working in Stillwater. The bill also includes justice for James Lamar Davis, who served about 3 years in prison before his conviction was vacated due to ineffective assistance of counsel. It also includes $350,000 for Clayton Douglas Groves, who spent nearly 52 months in prison before his conviction was overturned and he was acquitted on all charges at retrial. Lastly, Mr. President, the bill includes $4.5 million for Mr. Marvin Haynes, who was wrongly convicted at age 16 and served over 19 years in prison before new evidence demonstrated his conviction was based on false evidence and unreliable identification, leading to his conviction being vacated and a dismissal with prejudice of all charges. Today, we provide Mr. Haynes a bit of justice and the ability to live his life in peace. Mr. Haynes, I hope you find that peace. Each claim has been thoroughly vetted through an established process to ensure legitimacy and accuracy. This bill represents a balance of justice, responsibility, and due process. It ensures that when the state makes serious mistakes or when individuals are harmed in its custody, we respond appropriately. Mr. President, the Claims Bill is a simple yet important bill. This is the rare spot where the Minnesota legislature directly provides justice to exonerated individuals like James Davis, Clayton Groves, and Marvin Hayes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion before I give the bill its third reading? Seeing none, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 5074, a bill for an act relating to claims against the state.
Third reading. Any other discussion before we do final passes? Senator Holmstrom.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has an innocuous name, the Annual Claims Appropriation Bill. But make no mistake, this is about justice. As Senator Clark alluded to, this bill is about the state messing up and coming forward. Department of Corrections made a mistake, somebody was injured, we pay them. But I don't think we can look past the real issue that the vast majority of the spending in this bill, Mr. President, goes to this individual that was convicted, Haynes, at 16 years old. Served in prison for 19 years. False evidence. With evidence, the only evidence being offered was an eyewitness who allegedly was unreliable and their testimony was suggestive. And the prosecutor in charge of this, the Hennepin County attorney at the time, was none other than Amy Klobuchar, somebody who's running to lead this state. And this is a mistake that cost this state dearly and cost this man even more than words or money can make up for. I don't want to let this moment pass without recognizing this, and I appreciate this. Please vote yes on the Klobuchar Cleanup Act.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Clark yield for a question?
Senator Clark, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Howe.
Senator Clark, can you let me know exactly? I see the calculation there. I believe it's 4% multiplied by 114,260. Can you tell me where that 114,260 comes from to make this calculation of the 45-70-40 going to the, I think his name is Mark Carroll, for the permanent injuries to his right ankle?
Senator Clark, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the good Senator Howe. So that comes from the standard. Let me double check my notes one more time, Mr. President. There's a standard set of rates that is provided, and so the 14,286, the trimoral fracture is rated, is the injury, is rated at 4% of the whole body. So in that piece, the equation then results in that $4,570.40.
Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for that answer, Senator Clark. So what you're telling me is the 114,260 is the value of a whole body?
Senator Howe, are you asking Senator Clark to yield?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I am.
Will you yield? He will yield. Senator Clark, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Howe. That is what has been deemed and put into regulations by this state.
Any other question? Seeing none, the Secretary will give the bill, will take the roll on final passage of House File 5074. Senator Umu verbatim for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7, if you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Kupek votes aye.
Senator Kupek votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
And Senator Maye Quade votes aye.
And Senator Maye Quade votes aye. Senator Umu Verbatim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Murphy votes aye.
And Senator Murphy votes aye. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Pratt. Senator Pratt. Senator Pratt, I need to see him. Thank you so very much. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President,
Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes aye.
And Senator Lang votes aye.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Draheim votes aye.
And Senator Draheim votes aye. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 64 ayes and 2 noes, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, we'll now go to House File number 4074. That would be Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. I am very proud to present to you the 2026 Omnibus Pension Bill. Members, you'll be glad to know that if you have any police officers or firefighters or 911 telecommunicators or probation officers or correction officers or AFSCME members or MAPE members or teachers or state employees or local employees in your district, this is a yes vote for you. Let me start, members, by giving some brief thanks. Keep in mind, the Legislative Commission on Pensions and Retirement is a bipartisan, bicameral effort by the legislator to protect the retirement promises that you and I make. The members of this chamber who serve on the Pension Commission include the Republican lead, Senator Jeff Howe, Senator Carla Nelson, Senator Jordan Rasmussen, proud to be joined by my DFL sisters, former chair, Senator Sandy Pappas, Senator Judy Seeberger, and Senator Bonnie Westland. But that's not all, members. We're also blessed with incredible nonpartisan staff on the Pension Commission, including the Executive Director, Susan Lincheski, Alina Wilson, and Molly Pearson, but that's not all, members. Our SCRFA staff includes Stephanie James and Andrew Erickson. Thank you to both of them. Our House nonpartisan staff is Colby Sullivan and Helen Roberts. Our partisan Senate staff includes the incomparable Ryan Majerus and Tom Sheeta, and the partisan House staff, Coley Coburn, Kyle Schwab, and Justin Brill. All of these meet on Tuesday nights to work on the promises that we make, and Mr. President, how we protect those promises. The bill includes several significant pension improvements. The cost of this bill is itemized on the spreadsheet on your desk. In rough terms, $12+ million base funding, ongoing, and $3 million of one-time funding. And Mr. President, here's what that gets you. Number one, removal of an unfair COLA delay for members of our public safety community. The short version is that an attempt to protect the funding status, we have made sacrifices in the past and delayed the cost of living improvements for these Minnesotans. This bill will remove that delay, which unfairly put buying power of the members of our public safety community at a disadvantage. We're creating 2 work groups. These work groups are a sign that the Pension Commission does not take this work lightly, Mr. President, and does not rush into it. One of those groups is the Duty Disability Work Group, a very important effort relating to duty disability of the public safety community and the effort to find a solution for the threat to the funding status of an increase in duty disability claims in the state of Minnesota. We have to think of the entire body of the community of public safety if we want to recruit and retain the next generation of those that keep us safe. Among the biggest successes, members, is the probation officers and 911 provision, which creates new plans to provide a much more appropriate and supportable pension sub-plans for these members of the public safety community. If you have any probation officers or 911 telecommunicators in your district, I suggest you give them a thanks and then a thanks for their patience. They participated in a detailed and lengthy, over 1 year process work group, Mr. President, and came up with these recommendations collectively. That's how you know they are solid. Did you know that every state Senate district in Minnesota has an active or retired St. Paul teacher living in it right now? I didn't, Mr. President, but they do. The bill contains $3.4 million to protect the promises to St. Paul teachers, those educators that last year allowed a sacrifice to be made on behalf of the sake of the total bill and were returned to this year with the help of Senator Sandy Pappas to make up that promise and to protect the retirement promises for those teachers. A note would be, Mr. President, St. Paul teachers are the only teachers in the state in our public schools that are not members of TRA. The State Board of Investment, we don't talk about this group that much, but they supervise about $140 billion of Minnesotans' money. And this bill contains provisions to properly allocate the funding of the fees so that our plans are not penalized. That funding is in the order of $600,000 plus. Why there's a secure choice provision for Senator Pappas's effort to provide retirement options for Minnesotans that are not automatically covered, an outstanding and ongoingly better recognized and successful plan to make retirement plans available to those that work at smaller employees and those don't have it. And there are other provisions, including Senator Westland's supplemental plan work, Senator Seeberger's work on volunteer firefighters. Mr. President, I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to. However, Mr. President, I am going to call members' attention to the 2 letters on your desk. These letters include a very direct request for your yes vote on a clean, unamended bill from the League of Minnesota Cities, the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association, the Minnesota Inter-County Association, and the Association of Minnesota Counties. All of us represent cities and counties, and all of those cities and counties are saying we would like a yes vote on this bill. And I call members' attention to the second paragraph of this letter on your desk, which says, we support keeping Article 12, Section 2, the provisions in this bill as drafted, and we oppose any amendments that would change duty disability laws before the working group has a chance to look at the system comprehensively and make recommendations. The duty disability provisions require thorough, hard work, Mr. President, and a little numerical twist on the LCPR. 1 out of every 200 Minnesotans serves our state in public safety. In the membership of the Pension Commission, it's 1 out of every 3. The voice of public safety is proudly represented, Mr. President, in this bill. But all of us have cops and firefighters, and the second letter I call special attention to, members. That is a letter on your desk from the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association and the Minnesota Professional Firefighters. It, too, asks for you to vote for this bill and draws special attention to the duty disability provisions and says we recognize and emphasize that more work needs to be done regarding improvements to the duty disability process and retired benefits, particularly for duty disability injuries occurring at age 55 and older. The letters on your desk, the hard work of the LCPR, the funding, the promises that we make. The LCPR members have worked for 2 years to produce this legislation. Mr. President, I stand ready to discuss the bill, to address any possible amendments, and to simply state what every member of the Minnesota Senate can see. Every stakeholder who's had a voice here is asking for you to pass this bill, and we are asking for this bill to be passed without amendment so it can go straight to the governor's desk. And amending the bill, Mr. President, puts it at risk that it will not pass this year. If we pass this bill clean, members, you will receive emails and calls from thanks all across your district. And if we don't pass it, Mr. President, you'll get some emails then too. Thank you, members. I look forward to the discussion.
Members, we're on House File 4074. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Frentz yield for a question?
Senator Frentz will yield for a question. He will yield for a question. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Frentz, I am struggling with this bill. I'm particularly struggling as we have seen this over and over. I've seen dozens of these pension bills come here in my time in this legislature, and we're seeing it again. The St. Paul teachers are, we are seeing the taxpayers of Minnesota contribute more to their pension, and then we are requiring the skin in the game that the employees have. We are lowering that requirement in the bill. And I understand this, Senator Frentz. It's a zig and a zag. One group comes by one year, and when you talk about, in your opening, you talked about all the stakeholders are happy in the bill. All the stakeholders are happy. I don't think that's true. The stakeholders that you're talking about are the different teacher groups that are coming forward in the pension discussion, and one is looking over their shoulder at the other one and saying, we want more here, and they come forward with rationalization for their position, and you guys and gals on the Pension Commission buy it. And you bring it forward in a bill and say everybody's happy. And then the next year the other group comes forward and says, they got that, but we want this because we didn't get an increase, but they did, and we need to have more. And then the Pension Commission meets and comes forward with a bill and says, all the stakeholders are happy. It's all been solved. And we see here that we are increasing the state aid to the St. Paul Teachers Retirement Fund and then giving them the ability to lower the employee contributions. So what that means, Senator Frentz and members, is that taxpayers are paying $3.4 million per year or $6.8 million per biennium more to this pension fund. And the employees are not paying, they're actually paying less. Ostensibly, the way I'm reading the description here, they're paying $6.8 million a biennium less. If you look at what they're already getting now, the St. Paul teachers are getting $2,125 per member per year from the taxpayers of the state of Minnesota towards their pension. The TRA people are getting $72 per member. Let me say that again. St. Paul is getting $2,125 per member from the taxpayers of Minnesota. TRA is getting $72 per member. And we're increasing the $2,125 per member number. So, sorry about the long introduction to my question, Senator Frentz, but my question is, how do you rationalize that? The discussions that you come forward with in the Pension Commission, you bring forward to us each year, or at least every other year, many times it's each year here on the floor, is that it's out of fairness. How is that fair? Not only, if you will, explain to us how that is fair that one is getting $2,125 from the taxpayers per member, and the other is getting $72 per member. Rationalize that or explain that, if you will, because I think the taxpayers of Minnesota, the stakeholder that you left out of your discussion, Senator Frentz, because they're not happy with this, if you would explain that for us.
Senator Frentz, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Drazkowski. First, glad to report that at the final vote of this omnibus bill, all present GOP senators voted yes, and there was not even an attempt to amend that provision. Just saying. To your question, mathematically, last year, TRA received $20 million to the exclusion of the St. Paul teachers, and I mean, Mr. President, $20 million ongoing. We have over 400,000 Minnesotans in these pension plans, Senator Drazkowski, and you are right in one part. We pick and choose each year what we can afford and what makes the most sense. To your question of fairness, and if I thought I heard correctly, a reduction in the St. Paul teachers' percentage that they contribute, this actually would bring them to 8% for the first time, bringing them in full conformity with all Minnesota teachers at the 8% employee contribution. So the money that the taxpayers are spending, what we call direct state aid in pensions, will allow these St. Paul teachers to be treated the exact same as all the other teachers in the state, which is a goal of ours for two reasons, Senator Drazkowski. First, we like people to be treated the same wherever possible. And second, it is a longer-term goal of the Pension Commission to eventually move the St. Paul teachers, the last teachers that are not part of TRA, Mr. President, in the state, into the TRA plan for efficiency and cost reasons. For all those reasons, that particular provision was not challenged in the final Omnibus pension hearing, nor am I aware of any amendments which propose to change it today. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski, and thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Frentz. Well, Senator Frentz, each of those has a different benefit set. They're not exactly the same. They're different. They have largely different numbers of members in their associations. So that is a reality. But the most important reality that gets overlooked, and it gets overlooked every year, and you know, I could bring an amendment to amend this out. I don't know how successful that would be, but the taxpayers of Minnesota are not being listened to. They're simply an ATM machine for the pension bill each and every time one of these comes before us. When are we going to see the employees pay more and the taxpayers pay less? Because that hasn't happened since I've been paying attention. Not once. Mr. President, it's a one-way check valve, Mr. President. The money is going from the taxpayers of Minnesota into these pension funds. The Pension Commission gets together and looks at the kids in the room and says, okay, how are we going to deal with this kid today? How are we going to deal with this kid tomorrow? And is that fair for that kid? We'll be fair to you this year, Kid A. And next year, Kid B, we're going to be more fair to you because Kid A got money last year. And the people paying for Kid A and Kid B are the taxpayers of Minnesota. And that is the interest group, Mr. President. That is the interest group that isn't being paid attention to here. It's a one-way check valve. It's more and more and more of their money, and it's less and less and less of the employees' money going to pay for their pension, Mr. President. And we're doing it in the bill. One of these is getting $2,125 per member, and the other is getting $72 per member, and the one with $2,125 is getting more taxpayer money. And the employees are paying less money. Members, Mr. President, this is not sustainable. This is why we have a structural deficit projected in the next biennium. This is why Minnesota is fiscally running in the ditch. In addition to the fraud that is going on here, of course, in the state, Mr. President, that's run us in the ditch. That's laid the layer of oil over the road that has propelled the automobile into the ditch. But the weight in the automobile that is pushing it and providing the inertia to bring it into the ditch is this type of fiscal irresponsibility to the taxpayers of Minnesota. And all we seem to have ears for is what do the public employees want? What does this group want today? What does that group, what did they get yesterday? What are we going to do for that group tomorrow? Well, at the same time, the hardworking taxpayers of Minnesota are out there getting fleeced while the public employees are paying less and less for their pension. The taxpayers are forced in bills like this one to pay more and more. That means the taxpayers get less and less of their paycheck to take home because we are writing these irresponsible bills that are throwing this state in the ditch. Please vote no on the bill. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Rasmussen, for your amendment.
Mr. President, before he offers the amendment, could I address Senator Drazkowski's comments, please?
Well, yes, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
President.
Rasmussen says okay because he was next on the list, and I like to make sure I go in
Sorry
order.
about
Senator
that.
Pappas.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen, my partner in crime right now. I just wanted to tell the members that one of the reasons that Minnesota has a AAA rating, credit rating, which really helps to lower our bonding costs, is because we have such a well-run pension system. We're really, all over the state, we are admired by other states. Other states, their national average is about 5.1% of all spending, and we are half that, 2.5%. We, as one of my friends likes to say, we do pensions on the cheap. So we are not overspending on pensions. We're treating our public employees and our teachers as they deserve. Many of them take lower salaries as a result of better benefits working for government, and we should be applauding them and thanking them and not criticizing and attacking them. So I would just hope that members would agree that this is a wonderful, comprehensive pension bill. We have bipartisan agreement. We had a bipartisan vote in the Pension Commission, and I would appreciate your support.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're hearing a lot of concerns from local units of government across the state about unfunded mandates. And the reason for that is because unfunded mandates from the state lead to increased property taxes, and it can also lead to cut services. And unfortunately, in this bill, there is a provision that will be an unfunded mandate to our cities, counties, and schools. Currently, reemployed annuitants, which is someone who has worked as a teacher, as a police officer, as a firefighter, and is eligible for retirement, they can retire and start collecting their retirement annuity and then go back and work as a police officer, as a teacher, in one of those roles. And how the status quo works is that because they are not gaining any additional pension benefit during their extended service, they don't have to pay anything more into the pension fund, and their employer doesn't have to pay anything more into their pension fund. However, the bill before us has a money grab in it that would require the employers for these reemployed annuitants to pay in as if those employees were generating an additional pension benefit, which they're not. There are a couple issues, Mr. President and members, with this. Number one, it's bad pension policy. When you are doing good pension policy, you want to align assets, dollars coming into the pension system, with liabilities that will be going out. And disconnecting those two is what has led to the big issues that we've had within our state pension system. When you're asking someone else to pay for someone else's liability, that's when we get claims of unfairness within our pension system, and we have to address it in the Pension Commission and in pension bills that come to the floor. The other issue, Mr. President and members, is that this unfunded mandate will increase property taxes and lead to cuts in schools. This bill, on an annual basis, will take out almost $5.4 million from school budgets at a time where they are laying off teachers and having fiscal issues. This will take more money from school budgets. Additionally, for our counties and cities, PARA estimate that this will cost them an additional $4.4 million per year. Minnesotans are going to see that in increased property taxes. And then the last issue with this, Mr. President, is that it's going to make it harder to get the teachers we need in the classroom, to get the police officers we need on the streets, and it'll create more friction and cost into taking people who have worked a career in these professions and allowing them to continue working and using their skills. And so to address this issue in the bill, Mr. President, I'd like to offer the A50 amendment.
Senator Rasmussen offers the A50 amendment. The Secretary will report the A50 amendment.
Senator Rasmussen moves to amend House File number 4074 as follows. Page 89, delete Section 1. This is the A50 amendment.
Senator Rasmussen to your A50 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The A50 amendment would simply pull out the language that requires the employer of the reemployed annuitants to pay into the pension fund to get no additional benefit. If this amendment passes, we'll be saving Minnesota schools about $5.4 million per year that they can use to pay teachers or for other needs. And this would also keep $4.4 million per year with our cities and counties so that they can hire the police officers and the workers they need without increasing property taxes. This lines up with what we have done in terms of pension policy for a very long time, and I think does not create any fiscal issues with this bill because the dollars that are coming in under this provision are not paying for any portion of the bill. So we're not threatening the pension plans in any way. I would ask for members' support to remove these unfunded mandates.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Rasmussen, starting with thank you for your service on the Pension Commission. If I heard you correctly, Senator, you said that you're hearing a lot from local cities and counties. And I would just call your attention, the good senator from Fergus Falls, that there's a letter on your desk from those cities and counties asking you to pass the bill. That letter also says that they have reviewed the contents of the bill, they understand its implications, and they want you to vote yes. I would presume, Mr. President, that would include the Otter Tail County Sheriff, Barry Gibbons, the city of Fergus Falls and their chief, the firefighters, the police officers, the 911 operators, all of whom have weighed in that they want this bill to pass, and I think, Mr. President, it's a fair statement. They want it to pass unamended. Senator Rasmussen, you may be familiar with our time considerations here on the session. I'm a little concerned that this amendment is an attempt to cause this bill to fail, and there is very little question that what you're being asked, Mr. President, here is for the bill to pass. So members, you're being asked to support the A50 amendment on behalf of cities and counties, and you have a letter on your desk from the cities and counties saying, please don't amend the bill. I would ask you, members, to vote no on the A50 amendment, and it relates, of course, also to those comments made by the Minnesota Professional Firefighters and the Minnesota Chiefs of Police, the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, the Minnesota Fire Chiefs, and the Minnesota Chiefs of Police, if I didn't mention them, all of them staying to you by letter, please support the bill unamended. If so, it will go to the governor's desk. Amended, Mr. President, and there's no telling where it would go. I would add, Mr. President, this amendment was not supported in the LCPR, so if you care what your Republican senators thought on the commission work, and you see that the amendment didn't go on, you might ask yourself why here, 72 hours before the session ends, you would vote to derail the entire bill with this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Rasmussen.
Senator Klein.
Mr. President, request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Anyone else before? Oh, Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I certainly won't speak for the author of the amendment, but I, knowing him pretty well, would probably guess he's not trying to derail this bill. My guess is he has what he believes to be a pretty substantive amendment that he thinks will do some good, and here's why I agree with that. I, too, share some concerns. You know, oftentimes I try to look at what we're doing holistically as a legislature and all of the bills that we're bringing forward and trying to pass, especially when it relates to our schools, which is why I get confused. I think Senator Rasmussen makes a very good point when he says that there's some provisions in this bill that, according to him, would cost schools $5.4 million. And I don't know if that's one-time money or if that's annually. Maybe it's annually. So we understand our districts are in a big need of money, so much so that we're proposing to amend our Constitution and change the permanent school fund. So which is it? Do our schools need more money, or do we need to force them to spend more money? And that's why I have more significant issues about how we're approaching school finances in general. Let's support our schools. Let's help them keep those dollars that they need to support their budgets, provide for our students, teachers, and their school buildings and staff, in school safety, etc. And let's not move or shift money around here or there, which I believe is only forecasting what's likely going to happen with the other fund that I mentioned earlier. So, Mr. President, I take Senator Rasmussen at his word. I think this is a good quality amendment worthy of discussion. I don't think he's seeking to derail anything. Our good friends in the House are enjoying this beautiful day. They're not on the floor. So clearly there's still time during this session to do some more work and give some careful consideration to the legislation before us. Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I will speak to the bill in a moment, but I do want to bring the President's attention to Mason's Section 121.1. I'm speaking about impugning the motives of members, which you will see, Mr. President. I believe to say that an amendment is an effort to derail a bill is nothing more than casting motives. I'd encourage the President to remind members of this rule. Our state Senate, we do not impugn the motives of amendments or of other members. I usually see that when someone does that it's a weak argument they have, but that would be casting judgment, so I will not say that, but I ask you to bring this to the body's attention.
Members, I'm bringing to the body's attention Section 121, use of disorderly words in debate. I'll read the section of the provision that Senator Nelson requested. No member may indulge in personalities, impugn motives of members, or use indecent or profane language. That's a gentle reminder to all of us because I think we've been a little loose with our words as of late. I want to make sure that we keep this body sacred and that we debate the policy before and not throw in any political stuff, not Democrat, Republican. We need to stay away from those words. If you want to criticize someone on the other side, that you can say a member who might support this or a member on the other side, my colleague on the other side. We have to remember that we are colleagues nonetheless. With that being said, I am going to go to Senator Rasmussen if there's no one else. Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Rasmussen yield for a question?
Senator Rasmussen, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen, just to make sure I've got this straight in my head here. So somebody's retired. They're drawing a state pension out of the pension fund that we're debating today. They go back to work. Wherever they go to work has to make contributions, and yet the person is never going to receive that benefit. Is that correct?
Senator Rasmussen, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Barr, for the question. So under current law, the employer and the employee does not have to pay any additional into the pension fund because they are not accruing any additional pension benefit. There's no additional cost to the pension fund for them coming back to work, so they and their employer pay nothing in. With the bill before us, it adds in this new unfunded mandate for the employers that for these reemployed annuitants, even though they'll be generating no new liabilities for the pension funds, their employers will have to pay in millions of dollars every year for these reemployed annuitants, just as kind of a money grab into the pension funds. And so my amendment would address that. It would maintain the status quo. It would pull out this unfunded mandate from the bill.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen, and thank you, Mr. President. This just sounds like I think you phrased it rather well there. This is straight money grab. There is no way that the people that go back to work for the few years, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, a handful of years, their pension's set. It's not changing. And without adopting this amendment, where are we at? The A50. If we don't adopt the A50, this will be a straight money grab out of the very things that we have financially penalized. We have made running a city or a school district almost financially impossible. We've given them no room to maneuver, and decide how they want to spend the money within their district to benefit the students, or the students or the personnel. This could be a city building inspector going back to work for a couple of years while they hire a new one. Things like that. or a teacher or anything else, but all of these are government pensions, and I don't see, this obviously will not have an effect on the pension plan in any respect other than to make an extra contribution that will never be drawn on by the member it's made on behalf of. So I'd encourage members to draw the vote yes on the A50.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. I'm going to simply reiterate that the counties and the cities have seen the bill and they do not support an amendment, and I would go so far as to say I'm not aware that they've seen the amendment. So members, your cities and counties are telling you do not support this amendment. But since we have dipped into the minutia of pensions and the fairness and unfairness, members keep in mind that part of pension equity is that everyone pays in fairly and appropriately and the benefits come out. This is the Representative O'Driscoll amendment that's being addressed here. He found that certain employers were avoiding making contributions. Members, hear that again. Certain employers were avoiding making contributions to the pension funds for public employees who returned to work. Obviously, that's not fair and left a hole in the pension funding. The retired person took the spot that could have been filled by a new worker. And that, Mr. President, is why this provision was adopted in the Pension Commission with bipartisan support, including the support, Mr. President, of the Republican Senate members of the LCPR. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Rasmussen yield for a question?
Senator Rasmussen, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Senator Rasmussen, I was listening to you describe your amendment and the discussion that's ensued. It sounds like the bill is forcing municipalities to pay into the fund in situations where they don't actually have an employee that is receiving benefits from that. So, who is paying the bill for that, Senator Rasmussen?
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Jaskowski. Taxpayers. And we know from PARA, which is the pension plan for cities and counties, that this will cost cities and counties $4.4 million per year that will show up in Minnesotans' property taxes. And then if we look at TRA, which represents the teachers in Minnesota for their pension plan, it'll cost nearly $5.4 million per year. And they're either going to have to raise taxes on Minnesotans or they're going to have to make cuts. They'll have to lay off teachers. They won't be able to give teachers pay raises. So this has real costs to Minnesotans at the end of the day.
Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. That's what I thought. This is property taxpayers that are going to be forced by this bill to pay for these additional contributions for people who are not even in the funds. And in the same bill, we are reducing the contributions of employees or pensioners that are in the fund. And multiple times we're increasing the liability on taxpayers, Mr. President. So, why is it a one-way check valve? Are taxpayers of Minnesota, in the eyes of Minnesota Democrats, just an ATM machine to go and stick your card in and pull it out and pay the bill for this group and pay the bill for this group? Because it sure seems like it. The taxpayer ATM machine, that's what we have in this bill. Senator Rasmussen's amendment attempts to disable the taxpayer ATM machine that the Democrats are accessing to pay for their special interest groups that are in this bill, while they're reducing the contributions required by the same people, the special interest employees or pensioners that are receiving the benefits. But we're forcing other taxpayers who aren't even associated with that. They're working their jobs, Mr. President. They're trying to pay for their future. They're trying to save money for their future. We're taking that money away from them through the ATM machine of Minnesota Democrats to pay for these interest groups. Senator Rasmussen's amendment attempts to disable the ATM machine that is pilfering pilfering the budgets of Minnesota taxpayers that are trying to get their families ahead, trying to live the American dream, and trying to survive in a Minnesota that continues to not have their interest in mind. We need to turn the ship around here, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen's amendment begins to turn it about 3 degrees. Let's turn it 3 degrees. Let's support Senator Rasmussen's amendment. Let's give the Minnesota taxpayers relief from the Democrats' ATM machine that is robbing their wallets. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. I have some bad news for Senate members who try to characterize this provision as partisan, and it goes like this. The author of this provision is Representative O'Driscoll, a member of the Minnesota Republican Party. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the bill author yield for a question?
Senator Frentz, will you yield for a question? He will yield. Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Frentz. I'm looking at the 2 letters that you had distributed on our desk, and you've stated that these letters say that we shouldn't have any amendments on the bill today. I was wondering if you could point out where in these 2 letters it says that.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Rasmussen. What I said is the cities and counties do not want the bill amended. They want it to go to the governor. But since you ask, what the letter says is we don't want it amended in particular on the duty disability provisions. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Rasmussen.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Frentz. The letter that is on the desk that Senator Frentz has referenced in an argument against adopting this amendment says we oppose any amendments that would change duty disability laws before the working group has a chance to look at the system comprehensively and make recommendations. There's nothing in the letters on our desks that say don't make amendments to this bill today. And Mr. President, I would say it's an insult to the Senate to say that we can't amend and debate bills. And again, this amendment is, I think, correcting a mistake that is in this pension bill. That will be an unfunded mandate that Minnesota property taxpayers will pay for. And if we have this amendment on, the House can concur with the bill tomorrow, and it will go on to the governor. And so instead of saying that letters say things that they don't, or that the Senate, the Minnesota Senate can't have amendments because someone sent someone a text, I think we should debate issues on their merits. And what I'm putting forward, Mr. President, is if you vote yes for the A50 amendment, you're standing for good pension policy, you're standing for fiscal responsibility, you're standing against unfunded mandates that are going to increase property taxes and end up with cuts to school budgets. And if you're voting no, you're voting for a money grab. You're voting to pull money out of the pockets of hardworking Minnesotans to put it into a pension fund to not line up with any liability that will be created in this bill. I'd ask for members' support.
Members, will you do me a favor? Before I go to the author of the amendment, I always ask to make sure there's no one else wanting to speak, because we like for the author to be the last voice we hear. I had gone through that process, which is why Senator Rasmussen was speaking, and then we have, and this has happened a couple times, where someone comes in afterwards, and then they want to speak while the author of the amendment is speaking. So if I go back to the person who stood, then I have to go back to Senator Rasmussen, because we always want to hear from the author of the amendment after everyone has spoken. So if you could help me, that would be helpful. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I can actually assist in that because I wanted to see if Senator Rasmussen would yield for a question.
Well, he's been yielding all day, so you're not assisting him in any way. Senator Rasmussen, will you yield? He will yield. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President, but I'm actually assisting you so that you don't have to go back to him, but yes, I appreciate that. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. I was listening intently to the dialogue between yourself and Senator Drazkowski, and one of the questions that Senator Drazkowski asked you was, who would be paying for this? And your answer was the taxpayer. So I just wanted to be very, very clear, Mr. President and Senator Rasmussen, would this be the same taxpayers that today, May 15th, the day that the first half of property taxes are due, the same taxpayers that have been crushed with 10, 15, 20% property tax increases, the same taxpayers that are getting crushed with Democrat unfunded mandates thrusting school property taxes to be higher, county property taxes to be higher, city property taxes to be higher. Are these the same property taxes that are going to go higher as a result of the language in the bill that you're attempting to correct?
Senator Rasmussen.
Mr. President, Senator Lucero, yes, that's correct.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is very clear. We need to vote in favor of the Rasmussen amendment because taxpayers are getting crushed in this state. And this will make those property taxes even higher next year. That's all those that are on fixed incomes. That's all those that are struggling right now to pay for their high child care assistance, their high vehicle taxes, their high gas taxes, their high everything taxes. This is only going to add to those increasing, crushing taxes that Minnesotans are going to pay. Vote for the Rasmussen amendment.
Now, Senator Rasmussen, so that it will be true, and I'm giving everyone a fair warning, the next time this happens, I'm just going to go right to the vote because I try to give everyone a chance to speak.
Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry.
Senator Rustrom.
Mr. President, this lecture you're giving the Senate, can you cite what rule it is that the President shall decide to always go back to the author to speak, even if somebody else has a question on the floor? That sometimes happens?
I'm going to go to Senator Rasmussen because that's not something that needs to be answered right now, but I will certainly answer
Mr. President,
it later.
It is. We need to know
Senator
the
Rasmussen?
parliamentary procedure you're using or the rule to keep excluding people from talking when randomly they want to ask a question after somebody's talked. It's your rule made up. It's not a Senate rule, Mr. President.
Well, maybe you should try Senate demeanor. That's our rule. Senate demeanor is our rules. So why don't you read that and try that? Senator Rasmussen.
Mr. President, I will, but you provide me the rule that I asked for that you're denying me because I don't believe it exists.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. You will read the rule, and I'll be happy to share it with you later. Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've had the privilege of serving on the Pension Commission since my time in the other body, and it's a really important body, and it's full of people who care about doing pension policy right. And we do have differences of opinion sometimes on some of the trade-offs that come forward with proposals in front of the body. And I just want to say I offered my opposition on the Pension Commission. I offer this today in good faith. And I go back to a conversation I had during the Pension Commission one time where I asked one of my colleagues how much his proposal cost, how much it was going to cost taxpayers. And the response I got was, Senator Rasmussen, don't ask what it costs, ask what it pays. Well, this provision we know is going to cost taxpayers about $10 million a year for forever, and it pays for nothing. There is no pension benefit that's paid for with this increase in this money grab in this bill. So, Mr. President, going back to that pension conversation, this costs taxpayers and it pays for nothing. I'd recommend a yes vote.
The Secretary would take the roll on the A50 amendment. Anyone else? Members, please vote. We'll wait for the reports of those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7. Senator, who moved verbatim for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7?
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Herr votes no.
Senator Herr votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Marty votes no. Oh, was it Marty?
That's
Senator
correct.
Marty
Senator
votes
Marty
no.
votes no. Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
And Mr. President, Senator Mohammed votes no.
And Senator Mohammed votes no. We're waiting for Senator Jasinski. When he's ready, we will proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Jasinski's ready.
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Liskey votes aye.
And Senator Liskey votes aye. All members having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 28 ayes and 39 noes, the A50 amendment is not adopted. Any other amendments? Seeing none, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 4074, a bill for an act relating to retirement, Minnesota State Retirement System, etc.
Third reading. Any other discussion before we move towards final passage and allow the author to get the last word? Anyone else? Senator Howe.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to start by acknowledging the staff of the pension staff. Susan Lincheski, the executive director, Alina Wilson, the analyst, Molly Pearson, the commission assistant. I will tell you that they do hard work, they do long work. No matter when I call them on the weekend, in the evening, they answer the phone and they're working. So they're excellent staff. I also have to make mention of our Republican researcher, Tom DeShita, excellent work, and Ryan Majerus, the Democrat researcher, also always open. Members, would this be the bill that I wrote? No. I definitely believe that there's excellent things in this bill, things that we worked hard on, things that we've worked over decades to get. So that's an important piece to get done. You know, I heard Senator Frentz, the chair, say, we make an effort to treat everyone the same. The problem is, this bill doesn't treat everyone the same. I'll talk about the state law enforcement folks. They pay more than anyone in employee contributions. They have one of the highest sufficiencies. We didn't address them as far as reducing their contributions. That is something that the commission needs to take a hold of in the future. The other piece is and I'm going to mention the duty disability piece that I've worked on for over a decade, and each time it has been railroaded away from me and addressed by someone else. It happened again this year, even though last year I swore I'd never touch this piece again. I got convinced to dive into this pool one more time. And when we talk about treating everyone the same, in the duty disability piece, you have 706 employees that are over 55 with over 20 years of service. If they get injured on duty today, all they get is their pension. But if you're under 55 with over 20 years, you get 60 months of health care coverage. I would say we're not treating everyone the same. I'd say you're open, the state of Minnesota is open for a lawsuit strictly on age discrimination. We tried to fix that. They weren't interested, so that didn't work. So that is something that I know that'll be addressed with the work group. But I will say that from now until the work group's recommendation gets passed and gets implemented, we have ourselves open for an age discrimination lawsuit if any of those 706 get injured on duty today. So members, I will say that I would love to give my full support on this bill, but I can't. You know, the author, the Chair Frentz, Senator Frentz has put in there that there's 2 letters in there for support. But I will say there's one letter that I looked for that is missing. And that letter is from this letter of support from the largest public safety organization in the state. It's not there. So I made a phone call and said, do you support it? What do you want me to do with this bill? And they actually, even though there are gaps in this bill and problems with this bill, they also said that we've worked too hard and come too far not to pass the bill. So LELS also supports the bill. So with that, Mr. President, I will say that I will be, as tough as it is for me to vote for this bill again, I do recommend people that our law enforcement folks definitely need to see this bill passed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Limmer, I have you on the list, Senator Nelson. Senator Limmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, I want to thank Senator Frentz, members of the Pension Board, and in particular, Susan Lancheski, who helped write a complex portion of this bill, a bill that I originally created with another House member, and that's to facilitate the merger of a local fire department with a regional fire department. As you may know, some of our suburbs are not growing quite as fast as some would like them to grow, but nevertheless, the fire challenges are becoming more complex and more numerous. So the plan from the local cities that I represent urged us to create a merged fire department with other cities in the far west Hennepin area. Well, that's in and of itself, that seems rather simple until you have to merge pension plans. And it even gets more complex when you have to merge a volunteer fire department relief plan into an existing pension plan. Very rarely does that happen. And so we kind of reinvent the wheel when we consider such challenges. And we met that challenge in this particular portion of the bill. And I want to thank Senator Frentz and the other members of the Pension Board for being patient. We had to come back a couple times to present the bill, analyze the bill, and then pause and reanalyze it again with different stimulus that finally made it work. But I want to thank the efforts of the Pension Board. It gets some of the local smaller fire departments in the municipalities in West Hennepin area finally on the road to create a strong, well-equipped, and responsive, modern fire department agency that'll benefit the public for many years to come. Thank you.
Now, Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Members, as a member of the Pension Commission, maybe one of the newer members, I'm completing my last year, 4 years on the Pension Commission. Some have been on much longer. Let me just say a few things. One, I am thankful to have been on the Pension Commission. I want to thank the chair and all of the members. I particularly also want to call out the staff, Susan Lincheski. As you know, and as you're hearing today, pensions are complicated things. And there is no doubt, when you look at the pensions across our state, as far as state and pensions, they are very, very complex. And so I want to thank those who have served, and it takes a special breed of us to stick around after the legislature adjourns to stay for a night of pensions. You have to really have your mind ready to take in a lot of numbers. The one thing I would add is that we just have to know, and we saw this, I'm thankful for the fire relief packages that we are able to include in this pensions bill, and also for the teachers' pensions. But both of those, members, you just have to know, it is true, you cannot do pensions on the cheap. And it will come back to bite you if you try to. And that's what we are seeing with the St. Paul Teachers Fund, for example. There were years, maybe even a decade, of what I call the big red box, where there were promises made that were not being paid for. And when you compound that with the impact of time, that deficit just continues to grow. I'm hopeful that as we continue in our state, that we will always make sure that we pay for those things that we are purchasing. Otherwise, it compounds on time. I want to draw out two things that I think are important, many things in this bill, but one, duty disability. I support the Article 12, Section 2 provisions that actually will get a working group to do the hard work to make sure that contributions compounded with time will be available and suitable to pay for the pension promises. And we might not have that right now. In fact, we know that some of our members are at risk. When I say members, I mean our law enforcement members. So I'm very much hopeful that we will get a yes vote, get this off the floor, and we will get that working group that we know will come back in 2027 and bring us a fiduciary, responsible provision to support duty disability. I also want to speak about a very private or smaller provision, but which is very important. It has to do with the healthcare savings plans. This provision will allow counties, if they choose to allow county commissioners to participate in the healthcare savings plans. Prior to this law being passed today, Senate File 4764, county commissioners, as elected officials, did not have the option to participate because our law would not allow them. Currently, they cannot. This will allow them to participate if they so choose through a participation plan from the county. So these are just a few of the good provisions that I think are important, and I do want to thank the Pensions Commission and Senator Frentz for his leadership, and I do encourage a green vote.
Senator Liskey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I've been listening to the debate on this bill before us all morning, or what it feels like all morning and early afternoon. I'm very disappointed to hear the good senator from North Mankato discuss how this is supposed to be supported by bicameral and bipartisan committee, and that we should all listen to what our own parties are telling us. That we can't possibly amend this because it is coming to the floor at such a late time. We only have 72 hours. If we were to amend this, it would probably die on its way to the governor's desk. Well, it's unfortunate because I feel like that is a failure in our leadership to bring bills such as this that have high priority in a lot of people's retirement plans. We wait until 72 hours or less before the end of session. How else are we supposed to, as 67 members, debate a bill and have a good amendment or not a good amendment and have that understanding? I can tell you right now, I don't go to those commissions. I agree, right? I don't attend them. I'm not on the commission. But the issue is, and I trust a lot of them, hear from their districts and hear from all over, but they don't always hear from my district. My district may not always have the opportunity to come to a meeting and express where they're at. And so with the emails and the phone calls I get, my job is to represent my district. And so by being told, hey, we can't offer amendments that could possibly change this bill, when those voices aren't being heard, that sounds like a terrible policy. And so I had an amendment today, and I did not get an opportunity or did not choose to offer it because at this time, the duty disability stuff has been asked by some individuals, some interest groups, that we don't mess with that until the committee, the new committee being built, gets a chance to meet about it. My question is, why didn't we do the committee before we made those changes? We took away people's benefits without even addressing that issue, without understanding why they were needed in the first place, without understanding that that was probably a bad idea. I stood on this floor in 2023 and talked about why it was a bad idea. I stood on this floor last year and told you why it was a bad idea. And yet we continued to make little, minute, detailed changes, and some very large changes, to duty disability. And now we have to form a commission to tell you why or why not that was a bad idea, when I was standing right here telling you why it was a bad idea. So with that, and many other reasons we already heard debated on this floor, I'm going to be a no vote on this bill. And it's not because there isn't some need, some of the things being addressed that needed to be worked on, but because yet again, we've failed to address every situation with this bill. So with that, thank you very much.
Senator Pappas.
Mr. President and members, first of all, I want to thank Senator Frentz for writing a great pension bill, and for all the commission members and all the staff, of course, who helped us do this. And I especially appreciate you supporting St. Paul teachers and for your support for secure choice. I want to add special praise to Susan Lincheski, our director, Pension Commission director, who I hired as pension chair or vice chair because Representative O'Driscoll insists he hired her. I think we did it together. Good teamwork. It's been my pleasure. Can you say that? Can I say that again? My pleasure to serve on the Pension Commission for the last 2 decades as a member, as a chair, as a vice chair. Our members have been bipartisan in their work and their attitude. They've been engaged and committed to keeping a strong pension system for our fabulous government employees, present, past, and future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, anyone else before we go to the author of the bill, who would be our last speaker? Anyone else? Am I missing someone? I don't think so. All right, Senator Frentz, before we vote.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. First, Mr. President, We saw earlier today that sometimes you have to make tough decisions. I applaud you and thank you for your service. Members of the Pension Commission, the duty disability issue that was before us and that will remain before us this summer, and for those that come back to this chamber next year, that is a tough decision, and we are up here to make tough decisions. Thank you to the members of the LCPR. Senator Nelson, for your voice of education. Senator Rasmussen, we may disagree, but your expertise in finance is an incredibly valuable asset to the Pension Commission, and I have the feeling this won't be our last disagreement, but you have my respect as a member of the Senate, and you fight hard, but you fight clean. Senator Howe, I know you're not on the floor, but of all the members of LCPR, you bring the most passion, and wouldn't you know it, you bring it to the area of the policy and pensions that you know the best, which is protecting the pension promises of those that keep us safe. And Senator Howe, all the things we've been through on duty disability in the last 2 years, all the people of Minnesota in the gallery, the men and women who stand behind these letters, you have a pledge from all of us that you may not be a member of the Minnesota Senate next year, but the Minnesota Senate will be there to address the duty disability issues, the tough issues, Mr. President. They don't send us up here to just make the easy issues. They say it's a tough choice. And we'll be there. And Senator Howe, I look forward to speaking with you after that issue is resolved. For my DFL colleague, Senator Seeberger, I remember the day I met you, and I thought, not only is this lady an incredible candidate, but she could be a valuable asset to the LCPR with her voice of public safety and the space you're in, Senator Seeberger, which is EMT, paramedics, and how their voices have not been fully brought forward. Senator Westland, your background in elections, your poise as an attorney allowed you to be an incredible member of LCPR and to work across the aisle to see the LCPR bill come forward. Mr. President, I'll spare this chamber about 10 minutes by not praising Senator Pappas in all the ways she should be praised. I'll try to keep it brief. There have been very few members of the Pension Commission in the history of this state of the caliber and dedication of Senator Sandra Pappas of St. Paul. I would thank Ms. Lincheski, Ms. Pearson, and Ms. Wilson, except where it's redundant at this point. I will just say, members, you can amend bills. The question before us in each matter is, should we? And the letters on your desk are an attempt to join the arguments here to say, we should not amend this one. It'll go to the governor's desk, and Mr. President, I would ask members to be a yes vote on the 2026 Pension Omnibus Bill. Thank you, members. Thank you.
The Secretary will take the roll for final passage of House File 4074. Members, please vote. And those who will be reporting remote voters pursuant to Rule 40.7, please stand when you're ready. Senator Umu verbatim for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Wicklund votes aye.
Senator Wicklund votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
And Senator Bolden votes aye.
And Senator Bolden votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye. I'm okay. All members having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 57 ayes and 9 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, I'd like to address a question that was put forth to me by Senator Westrom. I'm going to encourage you all, you have your Mason's book, including Senator Westrom. I'd like for you to go to section 103. In the event that you don't want to go to it, I'll be happy to read it for you, but you go to section 103. In Mason's, here's what it reads. In many legislative bodies, it is provided by rule or established by custom that the author or sponsor of a proposal or main motion is entitled to close the debate after other members wishing to speak have spoken. When this rule exists, a member may not be deprived of the right to close the debate except by ordering the previous question, and sometimes the rules permit the author or sponsor a limited time to close debate even after the previous question has been ordered. Where the right of closing is not set out in the rules, the privilege is often granted by custom. Our custom, as you know, is for the author of the amendment or the author of the bill to speak last. Number two, usually when presenting a proposal, a member is recognized first to explain the proposal, and when the debate has been extensive, that member may be called upon at the conclusion of the debate to close. I'd also like to turn your attention to Rule 36, the last sentence. The member may not proceed to speak further until recognized by the president. Members, when I ask you to stop speaking so we can resolve something, please don't continue to talk into the microphone, because that is a breach of our decorum. Also the reason why it's custom and why we recognize the author as the last person, because we want them to have the benefit of hearing everything presented by another person so that they can speak and their voice be the last voice that you hear. So you see that in our rules and you see it in custom. So thank you, members. We will now go to House File 4138, Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. House File 4138 is an incredibly important bill that I'm so proud to bring to the floor today. Mr. President, before I start remarks, I'm actually going to offer the A1 amendment so I can go through my remarks where members can see the language.
Senator Maye Quade offers the A1 amendment. The Secretary will report the A1 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade moves to amend House File number 4138 as amended pursuant to Rule 45 as follows. Delete everything after the enacting clause and insert. This is the A1 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade, to your A1 amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the A1 amendment. Members, Mr. President, in March of this year, a jury found that a social media company should be treated, or their app should be treated as defective products for being engineered to exploit the developing brains of kids and teenagers, and they awarded a woman who compulsively used social media as a small child $6 million in damages. This case was a first of its kind, but the jury findings are something that we in this room have known for a long time. Social media companies have deliberately designed their products to be addictive and harmful to their users, especially children. Indeed, Mr. President, 33 states, including Minnesota, have sued a social media company for harming our youth. That's 66% of this country's attorneys general who are suing a social media company for hurting our kids. I'm wondering, Mr. President, if we could find 66% of America's attorneys general to agree on much else. Instead of taking accountability for their intentionally harmful product design, social media companies have spent 2 decades blaming parents and trusted adults and teachers and kids for the harm that is being caused by big tech's products. But today we will recognize that while it is the job of parents and trusted adults to guide and engage children through the world they're growing up in, it is the job of this legislature to put in common sense consumer protections for addictive and harmful products. Indeed, we do not let children enter into contracts in any other place unless apparently it is with big tech companies. Common sense consumer protections are much needed. And that's what House File 4138 with this A1 amendment does. It is these common sense, content neutral consumer protections for Minnesota's children and to prohibit and limit access to our children's data. The A1 amendment would require social media platforms with 10,000 or more account holders or $1 billion in revenue or more to only allow accounts for children, which are Minnesotans ages 15 years of age or younger, to happen with parental consent. Further, these accounts for children are required to have, by default, the highest privacy settings, and social media companies cannot present addictive features on children's accounts, including paid commercial advertising, infinite scrolling, push notifications, autoplay videos, metrics of likes or reactions, or any sort of reward or recognition for the number of hours spent on the platform, followers gained, or the frequency of posting. Covered social media platforms will use age estimation to estimate the age of their account holders. Rest assured, everyone in this room, if you've had an account longer than 7 years on a platform, you are not considered a child. Now, Mr. President, some might wonder, how do social media companies know the age of their account holders? Well, Senate File or House File 4138 with this A1 amendment will require companies to apply the age estimation that they already use to target us with ads to estimate the age of their account holders. And this is a wonderful tool that can keep kids safer online, but you do not have to take my word for it, Mr. President. Let's talk to the social media companies. Meta on their website says, we use age assurance technologies so we help ensure teens are in the right experiences for their age. This includes launching teen accounts with built-in protections that limit who can contact teens and the content they see. YouTube said back in 2025, we introduced technology that would distinguish between younger viewers and adults to help provide the best and most age-appropriate experiences and protections. Roblox announced we are unlocking chat and age-appropriate experiences for our users by requiring them to complete an age check through age estimation. So you see, Mr. President, the question isn't can social media companies do age estimation? The question is, can we make them use it for good? Mr. President, with the A1 amendment and passing this bill, Minnesota will become the 27th state in the country to pass some sort of age assurance law for kids on social media. But I want to be very clear, we should not have to do this. Every social media company could have chosen to protect kids and design their products to be safe from the start. They didn't. Social media companies could have rolled out safety features to kids in every state in this country after the first state passed a social media safety law. They didn't. In fact, big tech has made state after state after state and legislature after legislature spend precious time and resources passing laws to force those companies to make their products less harmful and extend a modicum of protection to our children, even though they could do it without being forced to. They're literally making us fight state by state for protections they could have built at any time. And they chose not to, and so today Minnesota chooses action. We will join the majority of this country in protecting our kids from big tech's harmful, addictive products. I want to thank in this endeavor, Mr. President, my co-authors, Senator Kroon, Senator Gustafson, Senator Duckworth, and Senator Rasmussen. I also want to thank the author and the other body, Representative Scott, for her work, and Representative Smith for his partnership. Thank you to the Commerce and Consumer Protection Committees and Chair Klein, and the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee and Chair Latz for hearing this bill in your committees and for your input. Thank you to nonpartisan counsel Olivia Severson, our DFL researcher Amanda Peterson, and my legislative assistant Ayanna Smith-Koyman. But I especially want to thank the advocates for working so closely with me on getting this bill through the legislative process and combing over the language to make sure that we have a clean, content-neutral consumer protection law that will keep our kids safe from some of the most harmful and addictive features of social media. This bill is long overdue, Mr. President, so let's become that 27th state and get this done for our kids. I would request a roll call on the A1 amendment, and I will stand for any questions.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. I'm going to Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll reserve comments for after the adoption of the A1. I just wanted to encourage members to vote yes on the A1. It's largely technical changes from the bill that was before you prior to this A1, changing some definitions, clarifying some exceptions, and removing certain things to better align it with some of the language from the other body, but not all of the language from the other body. It's agreed upon language, and I encourage members to vote yes.
Any other discussion? We're on the A1 amendment for adoption of the A1 amendment. All in favor of adoption of the A1 amendment, say aye. I'm sorry. A roll call was requested. Roll call granted. Do you still want the roll call? You have to stand and say you withdraw it.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will withdraw the roll call.
Sorry about that. All in favor of adoption of the A1, say aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion prevails and the A1 is adopted. Senator Lucero, you have did you want to go a different way?
After she offers the A4 amendment, I'll speak to.
Oh, A4 amendment. Okay. Senator Maye Quade, I thought because you had the A4 in your hand that was yours. Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would offer the A4 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade offers the A4 amendment. The Secretary will report the A4 amendment.
Senator Maye Quade moved to amend the A1 amendment to House File Number 4138 as follows. Page 9, after line 15, insert. This is the A4 amendment to the amendment.
Senator Maye Quade, to your A4 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The A4 amendment is a version of the prohibition on companies allowing children to access chatbots that passed off this floor in the Commerce Omnibus. The primary difference being the previous version was 18 and under. This version is 15 and under, so it only applies to children. Members, chatbots are the next frontier of how big tech is data surveilling our children and harming them. I think we can all agree that the lack of meaningful consumer protections for tech and social media has demonstrably harmed people around the globe. And now we see the rollout of consumer-facing AI, and members, I believe this is a five-alarm fire for our society. And one of my primary concerns is children's use of AI chatbots. AI chatbots and companions let users create personalized experiences to take on the roles of AI girlfriend or boyfriend or therapist or doctor or any other persona that can be dreamed up. Chatbots are programmed to gain maximum engagement, which is also known as addiction, and to never end a conversation. They are programmed to keep a person's attention as long as possible, ratcheting up the conversation, validating human delusions, affirming dangerous or faulty logic, and escalating the narrative even and sometimes especially when it's dangerous. In the 3-ish years that AI chatbots have been around, we've seen shocking headlines of adults dying by suicide after being encouraged to by a chatbot, being encouraged to harm or murder others, instigate mass shootings or instances of terrorism. Frighteningly, many of these adults had no previous mental health issues, no issues with substance abuse disorder, and they weren't even particularly interested in AI or technology above and beyond the average person. And Mr. President, that's for the adults. Youth and adults use the exact same chatbots. So you take the aforementioned consequences for adults, you apply them to children with developing brains, and the consequences have been deadly. There is a packet on your desk, members, that go through some of the headlines we've seen, and I want to be really clear, chatbots have existed for 3 years, and we have numerous children that have died by suicide, one chatbot even offering to write the first draft of the suicide note for the child. For decades, tech companies have told us that the damage and destruction of their unregulated products are necessary byproducts of growth. We can no longer accept that narrative. I often look back and wish that I had been a legislator when social media had started rolling out some of their harmful and addictive features, but I wasn't. I was a teenager. But today, I'm the legislator. And as consumer-facing AI gets rolled out, I'm glad I'm that legislator. AI chatbots are younger than my 4-year-old, Mr. President, and in just those 4 short years, we have seen that this technology is not safe for kids. And we've seen that big tech cannot be trusted to regulate themselves. And so the A4 amendment would prohibit companies from allowing children, Minnesotans age 15 years of age or younger, from using AI chatbots. There's clarification that this does not apply to text devices or chatbots used for customer service or for business purposes or for virtual assistants that don't sustain a relationship over time. Let's be on the forefront today that we all wish we would have been 20 years ago. I hope that I can hear members speak in support of this amendment, and I'm grateful that we've passed a version of it off the floor already. I know we will be back here working on this at some point, Mr. President, because it's so important. Thank you.
Senator Holmstrom. Oh, Senator Lucero, You guys are confusing me today. Sorry about that. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just wanted to thank Senator Maye Quade for offering this and offer a few remarks. One of the phenomena that we're seeing in our society as screen time among young people is so incredibly prevalent, it is resulting in social isolation. We are seeing our young people not developing the healthy levels of relationships, interpersonal communication skills, and the list goes on. And that's a direct result of what's happening with screen time. That being a problem, young people then are going to gravitate to these chatbots, which are specifically engineered and optimized to take advantage of that void in young people's lives, the void of that social isolation. And these tech companies are optimizing their artificial intelligence for these emotional and social bonds. And young people that lack the life experience are going to get hooked. They may not have the necessary critical thinking skills to exercise the discernment over what these chatbots might be telling them. And these tech companies are going to optimize them to keep people addicted, preying on young people. I know my remarks are geared towards young people, but the consequences aren't limited to just young people. It's across society, but this amendment is focused on young people. We're going to be adjourning here in a few days in the Minnesota legislature, and we're not going to come back for approximately 7 months until next January. And in that period of time, those 7 months, the artificial intelligence that these tech companies are putting billions of dollars to optimizing, every single day, every single hour, every single minute of those next 7 months will see incredible enhancements in these products, in these chatbots. So my point is, the problem that we have now on May 15th of 2026 is even going to be worse when we come back in January of 2027. So I want to put the tech companies on notice. You've got Senator Maye Quade, Senator Lucero, and I know there are other senators in this body from the deepest blue districts to the deepest red districts that we are well aligned on putting regulations and limits on these tech companies because it is necessary, it is a bipartisan effort. And please know, we will not stop in our efforts when we come back next year to protect our children and put these limits in place with absolutely no regard to the impact it's going to have on the billion-dollar industry that the tech company is preying upon our young children. I do not care, and I know both sides of the aisle do not care of the detrimental impact it'll have on their profits in this space. Thank you, Mr. President.
We're on the A4 amendment. Any other discussion on the A4? Senator Holmstrom, and then Senator Klein.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo what my colleagues just said. We have an epidemic of unregulated, massive, multi-billion-dollar corporations that are targeting our youth. And we have no safeguards in place. I applaud Senator Maye Quade for bringing this forward. This is a serious issue. We have kids who are becoming isolated from the world around them. The arsonist becomes the firefighter. Social media companies come back around. Big tech creates these chatbots to try to make these children feel as if they have some connection. And the results, they're not talking to real humans. They're not talking to anybody with a soul, with that spark of divinity. They're speaking to a mindless artificial intelligence that does not understand its consequence, nor does it care. And the results are predictably demonic. So I'm going to echo what their claim is. Big tech companies, multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, you have no power here. You cannot stop us from taking care of this problem, grabbing this bull by the horns and dealing with it. I look forward to working with members across the aisle, across all political spheres, to get this done, and I wish we could get it done sooner. Thank you.
Senator Klein.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I got to thank Senator Maye Quade once again for sort of opening my eyes to this malicious technology, of which I was completely unaware as recently as 3 or 4 months ago. This is really toxic stuff. I've seen it demonstrated. These non-human bots communicate with our children, engage them in conversations, and steer them towards whatever dark impulses they may discover. There is really no reason to have technology like this in American society or in the world today. It is a deep risk to our children. I very much was proud that this was part of the Commerce Omnibus bill. I very much regret that it is no longer, as we move through the Conference Committee, part of the Commerce Omnibus bill. I hope that we can get it done in some form in this year. But I also join Senator Lucero in calling on the industry to self-regulate. There is really no reason for this to be out there as a disease to our children, and you don't need the government to pass a law to get you to do the right thing. Step forward and protect our kids and join with us on this. I also commit to Senator Maye Quade, this session will be over in 72 hours. Maybe we'll get this done, maybe we won't. But I think the medical community should join you in your work to prevent and protect our kids from this toxic phenomenon. This is certainly a health hazard to our children, and I would like to see professional organizations within the medical community step up, address it as so, and do some advocacy around it. You have my support in this effort, Senator Maye Quade. I hope we can get it done.
Members, we're on the A4, and I know Senator Kroon is going to speak after the A4. All in favor of adoption? Oh, okay, Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just extend my deepest gratitude to my colleagues for standing up, because I hope the message has come across loud and clear that whatever partisan divisions that may exist in this chamber or across the hall in the other body fall away when we see how tech companies are targeting our kids. Social media companies have a social graph of us right now, Mr. President. They know that I'm a suburban mom that has a toddler or a 4-year-old, that I'm married, that I'm into R&B music and politics and yoga. But what tech companies don't know right now are my deepest, darkest fears, what my medical diagnoses are, what the state of my retirement accounts are. That is the information that people are putting into chatbots. This is big tech's dream, to have the most personal information you could possibly have that you don't even share with your spouse or your family members or your best friends. This is something that does not need to exist. We do not have to have AI chatbots talking to kids about kinks, which I want to tell everybody was a toy that was released for 2-year-olds this past Christmas season in order to have technological advancement. We can cure cancer without chatbots for kids. And so, Mr. President, I have heard some amazing things on the floor today, and I know we will come back next session with a vengeance to pass this bill. But for now, Mr. President, I would withdraw the A4.
The A4 is withdrawn. Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is a generation of kids right now addicted to social media. There's a public health crisis in the pockets of our children. 95% of our youth are on social media, and parents might not even know about it. I've talked to a lot of parents who say, my kids aren't on social media. Are you sure? Because 95% of them are. And social media's business model is addicting our kids to their product. The current age limits, parental controls, and screen time limits that social media companies hold out as the solution to protecting kids are woefully ineffective. We're dealing with addiction. 45% of kids feel they spend too much time on social media. 25% of them meet the clinical criteria for social media addiction. We're dealing with mental health. 46% of adolescents report that social media makes them feel worse about their body image. We're dealing with cyberbullying. 58% have experienced cyberbullying. We're dealing with radicalization. We heard testimony in committee about some of the darkest sites that are radicalizing our kids towards violence and other things. Mr. President, the kids are asking for guardrails around social media, and the parents are definitely asking for help. They can't keep up. As a parent myself, I know it's my primary responsibility to know what my kids are doing online, but Mr. President, parents can't keep up. They need help in this regard. Parents don't know, ultimately, what their kids are doing online, so this is an entirely appropriate regulation that we have the power to enact to protect our kids. Mr. President, this bill that's in front of us is content neutral, and that's very important for the legalities of this bill. We have learned from previous states who've passed similar laws. Our bill focuses on features, not content. This bill is a moderate approach. It's not an outright ban on social media. It just protects our kids. It requires parental consent to open up an account for kids under 16. And it uses existing technology that tech companies are already using to track our kids. The penalties are appropriate. They escalate for reckless and knowing violations, and then create punitive damages, and there's a consistent pattern of reckless and knowing content. Mr. President, this is a good step forward for protecting our kids online. It's important that members know that when it comes to social media, our kids are not the customers. Our kids are the product. The customers are the advertisers, and they are paying to get unprecedented access to our kids. We need to regulate social media companies' access to our young children. Kids do not need unfettered access to platforms that seek to addict them and profit from them. Mr. President, this bill is needed. This bill is needed now, and I encourage all members in here to vote yes.
Any other discussion before we give the bill its third reading? The Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 4138, a bill for an act relating to civil law establishing requirements for social media platforms related to accounts for minors.
Third reading. Senator Port.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo the thanks to Senator Maye Quade for her work on not just this bill, but the whole entire space of AI and tech companies, especially how they relate to our children. As Senator Kroon and Senator Lucero said, this technology is moving incredibly quickly. And new problems and new risks are popping up for our kids every single day. So it takes an immense amount of work for legislators to try to stay on top of that and not just legislate for the past, but for how we think things are happening around us as we move forward. I look forward to the work of Senator Maye Quade bringing back that chatbot bill next year. But for now, this is a really great bill. I appreciate her work on it and look forward to voting green.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. And I'm just going to take maybe 1 to 2 minutes to talk about an aspect of the bill that we sometimes don't spend much time talking about as it relates to bills as they come to the floor. You know, when I originally signed on as a co-author to this bill, it was a Senator Kroon bill. And now it's a Senator Maye Quade bill. Senator Kroon's still a co-author and has worked very hard on it. And so I could give cheers and jeers, but unlike the Star Tribune, I'll just give cheers today. And I specifically want to thank Senator Kroon for his efforts on this bill. Too often in the legislature, we see ego and partisanship stall or prevent progress or really good legislation from actually becoming law. And to both Senator Maye Quade and Senator Kroon's credit, working across the aisle on a very complicated bill. It's before us today, and ultimately we're going to vote on it, and I think it has a really good shot at becoming law and helping a lot of kids, keeping them safe, and protecting families in general. And so while Senator Maye Kroon may be too humble to make comments in this regard, I want to thank him specifically for taking on what was a very complicated but meaningful bill, taking the beatings and shots that he had to in committee to get it where it is today. He kind of ran a marathon and did about maybe 28 of the miles. But I also appreciate the bill's current author helping to get it across the finish line. And quite frankly, if we saw more of this cooperation, if we saw more Republicans and Democrats setting aside differences when it comes to meaningful legislation on behalf of our constituents, we could do a whole lot more good here for the state of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, I want to make sure there's no one else because there's two speakers, and we usually like to have, like Senator Kroon and Senator Maye Quade, to go one right in back of the other. I want to make sure that we're not, and that's what we always do whenever someone who's worked hard on a bill or they may be the lead on the committee. So we will go to Senator Pratt, and if there's no one else after Senator Pratt, then we'll go to Senator Kroon and then Senator Maye Quade in that order. Thank you so much. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to commend the bipartisan work that was done on this bill. We've talked about how it's so important to protect our children. And there's a lot of effort going into making sure that we have those appropriate protections. And I share the disappointment with my colleagues in that the industry has been unable to regulate themselves. I also know that there's a large effort going on in Congress now to do something very similar that we've done today. But I'm glad we're taking that step. I'm glad we're leading the way. I'm glad we're going forward. Because this is and particularly when we talk about AI, this is a technology that is like no other. It's effectively the industrial revolution of our time. It is one of the most disruptive technologies that we've ever seen. Up there with the automobile, up there with the laptop. I remember when I first started my career, we were concerned about how many jobs we were going to lose because the laptop was going to automate so many different jobs. But what we ended up doing was we became more productive, and we grew our economy, and we grew our workforce like never before. The artificial intelligence revolution is scary because we don't know what the future holds. But it's also exciting because we don't know what the future holds. And I applaud the efforts to try to make it fair and safe without stifling innovation and creativity. I am absolutely convinced, Mr. President, that next year when this body comes back, there'll be more bipartisan work on this, but I want to congratulate the two authors for what they've done this year. Thank you.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yeah, I really do appreciate working with Senator Maye Quade on this. You know, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, obviously. I don't think that's a secret, but we found some common ground on this, and that's the way that this place should operate. We should do more of this on really big, important bills as well, like this one, that will protect our kids. I'd like to give a thank you to the Minnesota Catholic Conference, Minnesota Family Council, for helping push this bill along as well, and for colleagues, Representative Scott and other colleagues in the other body for pushing this. This is a very important bill, Mr. President. This is a bill that that's needed, that I hope we're going to get across the finish line despite strong opposition from the tech companies and social media companies. But this is also a message that the status quo needs to change. Our kids are too important. And self-regulation by the tech companies has not worked. And I would like to work with them in a collaborative way to protect our kids, but right now this is the path that we need to go down to protect our kids. We need to get this in place and give control back to the parents. And for the parents that choose to have their kids be on social media platforms, that it has limited features so that it isn't so addictive and it isn't so destructive to their developing brains and their upbringing. We want to give our kids a normal, healthy upbringing, and we need to do what we can as a state to make sure we give them the best chance to do that. So with that, Mr. President, I appreciate everybody's work on this and encourage members to vote yes.
Senator Maye Quade, you're the last voice that we hear before we vote for final passage as amended to House File 4138. Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I want to reiterate my thanks to everybody who's had their hand in this bill. It has been a pleasure working with Senator Kroon. It's been a pleasure working with the advocates, to our nonpartisan and partisan staff, and to be working with members in the other body as well. I think this is one time when a tie has actually worked really well for us over in the other body. I do want to back up, Mr. President, and just say in this term that we've all served, we have done tremendous work to protect Minnesotans and kids from big tech and AI. We've criminalized the dissemination of sexual deepfakes. We've clarified that kids can't work in monetized content under the age of 14. This year, we've prohibited notification technology functions from being available to Minnesotans. And today, we say that kids can't be on social media without their parents knowing. And if they are on social media, they have privacy and safety settings and no more addictive features on those kids' accounts. We are building a better world for Minnesotans and Minnesota kids. But I do want to join my colleagues in putting big tech on notice that we are working together in lockstep, hand in hand, not arriving at the same place from different beliefs, but arriving at the same place from the same set of beliefs. That they cannot continue to run roughshod over humanity to make money and harm our children and data surveil us in the process. Today is a good day in Minnesota, and I'm so proud to have been part of this work to bring this bill across the finish line. And with that, Mr. President, I ask for a green vote. Let's have a green board for a good Minnesota.
The Secretary will take the roll for final passage as amended to Senate file, to House File number 4138. Members, please vote. When the folks are ready to report those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7, please let me know so we can move forward quickly. Senator Umu Verbatim for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
Senator Bolden votes aye.
Senator Bolden votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Howe votes aye.
Senator Howe votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
And Senator Rasmussen votes aye. All members having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 66 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, we'll now go to House File number 3067. Senator Clark.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill ensures that instructional paraprofessionals working with our students meet federal personnel requirements. Under No Child Left Behind and the Every Student Succeeds Act, as well as IDEA, Title I and special ed paras must be highly qualified to serve students. Last year's Education Omnibus bill included language allowing paraprofessionals in special education to use a competency-based program to meet federal personnel requirements. This bill extends that same provision to paraprofessionals in Title I programs. So under this bill, there will be another pathway for all paraprofessionals to demonstrate how they meet our students' needs. This adds to a pathway that currently exists of educational credentials or a test option, of which one of the questions is being passed out to you now that, well, I think will entertain the senator from Hibbings, entertain him as he oftentimes talks about Algebra 2. This one's trigonometry, but it may be up his alley. So this adds another pathway. All across Minnesota, our schools struggle to fill these roles. This common sense bill helps schools identify qualified, specifically highly qualified candidates to fill these roles. Our paraprofessionals are the first face our students see in the morning and often the last to see at night. They feed our students, they drive them to school, and they help kids with special needs learn and move around our schools. Please support this bill and support your educators. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, we're on House File 3067. Any other amendments or discussion before I give the bill or the Secretary gives the bill its third reading? Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File number 3067, a bill for an act relating to education, clarifying paraprofessional qualifications.
Third reading, any other discussion, further discussion before we do final passage on the bill? And Senator Clark has given me the thumbs up, which means he wants me to go forward. The Secretary will take the roll for final passage on House File 3067. Members, please vote. Senator Bowden, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Fate votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye. He's already
Senator
voted.
Maye Quade votes aye.
As I mentioned, that Senator Putnam voted in person.
Apologies, Mr. President.
And who was the next person you said?
Senator Maye Quade votes aye.
Senator Maye Quade votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Mohammed votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
Senator Murphy votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Senator Rest votes aye.
And Senator Umu Verbatim votes aye.
And Senator Umu Verbatim votes aye. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Howe votes aye.
Senator Howe votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
Senator Utke votes aye.
Senator Utke votes aye.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All senators having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There have been 65 ayes and 0 nays. The bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, we will now go to Senate file number 3236. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is the e-bike bill, or maybe I should call it the two-wheeled vehicle possibly powered by something other than human feet or pedals bill. It is an extremely complicated topic, and I appreciate your bearing with me. Across the state, and particularly in Transportation Committee, members have been hearing from local leaders, law enforcement, pedestrians, and cyclists about both benefits and challenges that an increased use of e-bikes, or vehicles that appear to be e-bikes, has created. Legal e-bikes are an excellent option for recreation and for exercise and commuting for many of us. Unfortunately, many sellers and manufacturers of devices that are not legal e-bikes are circumventing Minnesota laws in ways that pose real challenges for consumers, law enforcement, and the media to understand. There are a large number of these devices being sold as e-bikes that are under Minnesota law, are legally motorized bicycles or even motorcycles, even if they do not comply with motorized bicycle or motorcycle regulations. And as a result, there are growing concerns among Minnesotans statewide about road safety that impacts youth and pedestrians and cyclists and everyone that uses our roadways and sidewalks. This Senate File 3236 is a much-needed first step in addressing these challenges. It contains bipartisan proposals, and while she's not in the chamber, I want to thank Senator Coleman for her work on this, that more clearly define categories of vehicles, provides consumers better information, helps law enforcement understand and ensure safety on our roadways and sidewalks, and gathers better information about the impacts of e-bikes and dangerous and illegal e-motos on our Minnesota roads. So to the bill. This incorporates the best of bipartisan proposals, including provisions to better define micromobility devices, motorcycles, and motorized bicycles into law. It requires labeling requirements for motorized bicycles about the speed and wattage. It provides electrical safety standards for e-bikes and motorized bicycles powered by an electric motor. It requires helmets for e-bike riders under the age of 18. It expands accident reporting to gather better data about crashes that involve e-bikes and motorized bicycles. It keeps motorized bicycles, which are not e-bikes, from shared use paths used by both cyclists and pedestrians. And lastly, it funds a public information campaign on e-bike safety. I am very grateful for the thoughtful engagement of cities and bicycle advocates, as well as the thoughtful and bipartisan discussions we've had in transportation about this emerging issue. And I encourage a yes vote on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. We will go to Senator Lucero for an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer the A11.
Senator Lucero offers the A11 amendment. The Secretary will report the A11 amendment.
Senator Lucero moves to amend Senate File Number 3236 as follows. Page 4, delete Section 7. This is the A11 amendment.
Senator Lucero to your A11 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The A11 amendment removes the helmet requirement from the bill. I ask for a roll call, and I encourage a green vote.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Johnson Stewart, once you get a chance to see the A11 amendment, you can stand up and give your thoughts about it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Lucero. Members, this is a controversial issue within the e-bike bill, and frankly, I talked about this in Transportation Committee, that as a parent, I very much want this provision in the e-bike bill. I think it's important that we have some kinds of statutory requirements for helmets that parents can rely on in creating good habits for their children, but also these e-bikes and motorized bicycles are becoming, frankly, more and more dangerous. We've heard testimony from parents who have lost children or whose children have been in severe accidents. And so I think helmets are very important. This also will provide a tool by which police can interact, what I assume will be in a friendly way to encourage more helmet use amongst children who are using these e-bikes. And so, members, I would ask for a no on this amendment and encourage us to require helmets as in the bill.
Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the amendment, Senator Lucero. We have, members, before us a bill that inserts government again, as it does here so much in Minnesota, as a nanny state. A nanny state that is displacing. It's meant to displace the responsibility and discretion of parents. This bill, Mr. President, the way it's written, is telling parents, you don't have the ability to decide yourself. So government's going to come in here and tell you how you have to raise your kids. That's what the bill says. Senator Lucero's amendment remedies that and takes this nanny state provision out of here. I encourage the support for the amendment. Mr. President, I'm wondering if Senator Johnson Stewart would yield for a question.
Senator Johnson Stewart, will you yield for a question? She will yield for a question. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Senator Johnson Stewart, I understand your inclination as a mother, and I would assert that it's not your or my responsibility to tell other parents how they raise their kids or make those decisions around their kids, and whether they wear a helmet or what they do in their life and how they play and where they play and all of those things. But, I guess as you look at this, you might think, okay, well, I'm guessing somebody said that these e-bikes go too fast, and they go faster than a normal bicycle. Of course, unless you're going downhill, like I remember one time I did, Mr. President, as a kid, and I went head first, probably at about 30 miles an hour, head over tea kettle, and so I fell down and went boom. And I got back up and brushed myself off and moved forward. But I would ask Senator Johnson Stewart, what are the rules? Do we have helmet requirements for kids when they ride in boats? go-karts. How about horses?
Senator Johnson Stewart, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Drazkowski. Currently, helmets are required for youth operators on motorized bicycles. We don't have a requirement for children to wear helmets in boats, but we do have state law that requires children to wear life jackets, and my husband and I relied on that state law many, many times. I think in committee I told the story that we kind of inflated the age just to keep our kids in the life jackets for a little longer. But we do have state laws around safety devices for our children, and under the arguments provided by Senator Lucero, we would not be requiring people to use seatbelts or have our children in car seats. So I maintain that requiring helmets for children under age 18 on these extremely fast bicycles and motorized bicycles is a smart idea. And again, I recommend a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. So we don't, and you know, you can drown if you fall in the water out of a boat. So I believe past legislatures have made that decision, and there's some very fatal types of consequences for those folks. But it's not really a consistent argument that we should have helmets because e-bikes go fast. They go faster, or maybe at some points will go faster than a non-motorized bicycle. But at other points may actually go slower. But they certainly don't go faster than many boats. They don't go faster than many go-karts. Horses go very, very fast. For those of us who have ridden a horse and done a header into the cornfield, Mr. President, I'm sure you have, like I have. And in those situations, we get back up and we brush ourselves off. And different parents have different types of outlooks on how they raise their kids. There's a helicopter parent, and Senator Johnson Stewart, I'm not saying you are one, but you could be, I don't know, who come along and have to follow their kid everywhere they go because they're afraid that Johnny's going to fall down and go boom. But there's other parents that actually want Johnny to fall down and go boom and realize, Johnny, you're going to figure it out, and you're going to learn that is not something you want to do, and help you avoid something that could be much more catastrophic by that learning experience that you have. So, Mr. President, because Minnesota government should not be parenting our kids, and Minnesota needs to stop being a nanny state instead of becoming progressively more of a nanny state like this bill provides, I encourage a yes vote, a green vote, on Senator Lucero's amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Westland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, e-bike accidents among children have increased 300% in the last 4 years, and it results more frequently in traumatic injuries such as head injuries, internal trauma, brain injuries, and so forth. It is always a little interesting to me that when we have the opportunity to do something to prevent potentially life-altering injuries, that there is objection to that. It's a good bill as it is, and we should vote no on this amendment.
All right, let's see. The last person that we'll hear from will be the author, unless there's someone else who wants to say something before we go to the author of the amendment. Seeing none, Senator Lucero, you're the last word on the 11.
Thank you, Mr. President. Micromanagement, helicopter nanny state, big government. That is exactly what this bill does. Where does it stop? Why do the Democrats consistently want to replace parents with government? I heard the remarks to try to justify this provision. Parents need this as a requirement that they can rely on. No, parents don't need to rely on government to protect their children. Another one I heard was, this is necessary so police can interact with the children. No. We don't need to have a law that mandates helmets so that police can stop children that aren't wearing a helmet to interact with them. The classic case of the nanny state. Let children be children and not have to go outside. Mr. President, it's a beautiful day outside. Summer is upon us. Here's how the conversation will go. Hey, Johnny, go take your bike out. Don't forget your helmet, though, because the law requires you to have a helmet, or else the police will stop you so they can interact with you. Mr. President, this is ridiculous. We don't need to mandate this. Let parents be parents. Vote green to delete this provision.
The Secretary will take the roll on the A11 Lucero Amendment. Senator Bowden, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Umar Verbatim votes no.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
And Senator Hochschild votes no.
Senator Hochschild votes no. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Abler votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
Senator Rasmussen votes aye. Senator Bowden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Frentz votes no.
Senator Frentz votes no. All members having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 33 ayes and 33 noes, the A11 amendment is not adopted. Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the A12 amendment.
Senator Drazkowski moves the A12 amendment. The Secretary will report the A12 amendment.
Senator Drazkowski moves to amend Senate File Number 3236 as follows. Page 8, delete Section 10. This is the A12 amendment.
Senator Drazkowski, to your amendment, the A12 amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move an amendment to that amendment, the A13.
Senator Jaskowski moves an amendment to the amendment, the A13. The Secretary will report the amendment to the amendment.
Senator Drazkowski moves to amend the A12 amendment to Senate File 3236 as follows. Page 1, before line 2, insert. This is the A13 amendment to the amendment.
Senator Jaskowski, to your A13 amendment to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Mr. President, members, we saw that Senate Democrats want the state of Minnesota's government to displace parenting and become an even bigger nanny state. The question is, Mr. President, how big of a nanny state do Minnesota Democrats want that to be? That's why I brought the A13 amendment. We're going to find out. What this would do is amend the bill so that a person under the age of 18 must be bubble wrapped in bubble wrap while operating an electric assisted vehicle. Mr. President, we're going to find out if you think a helmet is silly, this is even sillier than that. And I would ask for a roll call vote, Mr. President.
Roll call requested, roll call granted on the amendment to the amendment. Do you want one on the underlying amendment as well?
Just the amendment for the amendment for now, Mr. President.
Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you. So we're going to find out. I would encourage members to vote no on this amendment. And we'll have to find out how big of a nanny state Minnesota Democrats want our state government to be. Because if it goes to the argument that, and by the way, Mr. President, we didn't even get into the discussion around the helmet about whether a helmet makes it less safe or not. We know from motorcyclists that many of those accidents that happen are because of reduced ability to hear and reduce visibility. But really what we're looking for here is how big of a nanny state do Minnesota Democrats, do Senate Democrats want our state to be in displacing the ability of parents to parent their kids. So that's what this amendment is. If removing their helmets is really good for kids and we should make kids do that, we don't want Johnny to even fall down and go boom with a helmet on. So if he's got bubble wrap on him, Mr. President, he'll bounce right off the ground and just be very, very happy when he gets up. And let's let the nannies work on this one. I encourage a no vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, we're on the amendment to the amendment. I'm calling now on Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. First, I want to go on the record as saying I am not a helicopter mom, although my husband might disagree with me. But generally speaking, I am not a helicopter mom. You know, Senator Drazkowski, I like this amendment. And I don't know how much power I yield in my caucus to get a yes on this. Would be kind of a fun little experiment. But seriously, members, please vote no. We make decisions all the time, and I appreciate Senator Drazkowski's input on this. I know that helmets have been a controversial topic regarding, or in the world of motorcycles and e-bikes, et cetera, et cetera. And so I would encourage a no vote on the amendment to the amendment, even though I'm very tempted to ask members to vote yes. But please vote no. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment to the amendment before I go to the author? Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great idea to put it to the test. Bubble boy, Mr. President, bubble boy, and that's what this is all about. That's where Democrats want to take the state of Minnesota. They want to bubble wrap every inch of our children to protect them from themselves. And while this might have been a ludicrous idea when I was growing up, unfortunately, in the nanny state Democrat era of Minnesota, this is actually something, as we heard it ourselves, that would seriously be considered by Democrats. We definitely don't want this degree of nanny state. Vote no.
Any other discussion? Oh, Senator Holmstrom.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a confession to make. The scales have been removed from my eyes. My last vote to not require helmets was clearly wrong. I have been converted. Please vote in support of the bubble wrap amendment. I would argue it doesn't go far enough, but there is no more room for another amendment to the amendment to the amendment. Thank you.
Any other discussion before we vote on the amendment to the amendment? A roll call has been requested and a roll call granted. Seeing none, the secretary will take the roll on the amendment to the amendment, which is the A13. Senator Bowden, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes no.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
Senator Hochschild votes no.
Senator Hochschild votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And Senator Maye Quade votes no.
And Senator Maye Quade votes no. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes no.
Senator Abler votes no.
Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Gruenhagen votes no.
Senator Gruenhagen votes no.
Senator Housley votes no.
Senator Housley votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Rasmussen votes no.
Senator Rasmussen votes no. Anyone else before I close the roll? All members having voted who desires to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being one aye and 64 nays. The amendment to the amendment is not adopted. Someone please tap Senator Wiesenberg, if you will. Senator Jaskowski, who we are on the underlying amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment removes the motorized bicycle safety coordinator out of the bill. The helmets are an insanity enough in the bill. We've got another piece of government put together in this bill to create some sort of notion of security for helicopter parents or somebody out there, spending nearly $500,000 per biennium for a motorized bicycle safety coordinator. Mr. President, we don't need this piece of government. So that's why I brought it before us, and I encourage a green vote so that this money can be saved. This is money being paid for by the hard-working taxpayers of Minnesota. This is a senseless piece of government. Let's get rid of it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Jaskowski, did you request a roll call or you did not? He did not request a roll call. Senator Westland.
Well, Mr. President, I'd like to request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Johnson Stewart, anything else before we vote?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Do you want to? Okay, Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. The e-bike, the whole reason that I'm working so hard on the e-bike bill is it came to me from several of my mayors and police chiefs. I realize for most of us Metro members, we don't have near the number of cities that you have, but I have 15 cities, and this is probably the second priority for the mayors and the police chiefs in my district. The whole issue of e-bikes versus motorized bicycles versus motorcycles on both our city streets and on our trails is a really big problem. And even, I just Googled the accident that happened in Hastings with the woman who was hit by a child on a motorized bicycle, and most of the stories that you will find incorrectly label and talk about the accident as a child riding an e-bike. That was not an e-bike, it was a motorized bicycle. And police officers, sellers, retailers, parents, they just don't understand the differences between e-bikes and motorized bicycles. Children under the age of 15 shouldn't even be riding e-bikes, but we see them all over the place, at least in my community. So the program that we want to create with a motorized bicycle public safety coordinator and a public safety campaign, I think is really important, at least for the first 2 years and into the second 2 years. So please vote no on this amendment. I think this is an incredibly important position, and it's information that we need to get out to parents who are buying e-bikes off Amazon, and they have no idea the liability that they're putting their family, the liability and the risk that they're putting their family under because of buying these things that frankly might even be illegal for their child under 15 to use. So I think this is a really important piece of it. It's important to our law enforcement, it's important to our mayors, and I would encourage a no vote. Thank you.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Parents just don't understand is the Democrat mantra. And they want to create a position in state government called the Motorized Bicycle Safety Coordinator, and they want to pay this person $121,000 a year. They want to give this person a 6-digit job to do what? To educate about electric assisted bicycles, motorized foot scooters, and micro-mobility devices and motorcycles. They want to pay somebody over $100,000 to teach that and assist in identifying and categorizing the vehicles described above and create and maintain a database. My gosh, members, this is a first world problem. There are so many more important things that government needs to do, like stop fraud. Government should be focused on that. But no, they're going to micromanage and pay somebody over $100,000 to categorize and database motorbikes. Unbelievable. Vote yes on the Drazkowski amendment to remove this pathetic language from the bill. Thank you.
Senator Eric.
Thank you, Mr. President. And you know, why would we need to create this office for this one particular little piece? When I go and look to purchase a snowmobile, all the warnings are there from the manufacturer, and they talk to you. It should be the same thing with these. They should be explaining to people when they purchase these items, it's not for someone under 15, not for this person or that person. And the other thing that I heard in the comment is that we have a lot of these mayors and people in cities who are asking for this. Well, I don't have anyone from my district asking for this, so if there are places that really want this, why don't they develop this program and they can pay for it instead of asking all the people around the state to pay for it, when we have people in my district who know full well how to teach their kids exactly how to use the types of things they're going to use wisely. Vote yes on the Drazkowski amendment.
Senator Holmstrom.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to point our members here to the final page, starting at line 9.1. We are appropriating $587,000 of state taxpayer dollars to help you tell your children to wear a helmet. I'm going to save the state $587,000. Parents, just tell your kids to wear a helmet. It's that easy. Tell them they can't ride their bikes. Be a parent. This isn't your job. This isn't the job of the government. This is certainly not the job of a full-time, six-figure employee. And I would hope that we can all agree that the definitions are great. We need definitions on these. The first part of that bill, that makes sense. That work needed to be done. But the appropriations are totally meaningless here. Please vote in support of this amendment.
Any other discussion before we go to Senator Jaskowski? Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, usually don't respond to the finer points of a debate, but just wanted to point out a couple of things. I don't know where those figures are coming from. That is not how much is being appropriated for this position. It is $121,000 coming from the active transportation account, so for a purpose already designated for this general area of support and service from our Department of Transportation, number one. Number two, when a position is created at a certain amount, that is not what the person is paid, of course. That's to establish the office. It also includes fringe and things like that. So that person is not going to be being paid six figures. But finally, Mr. President, I'll just point out that Senator Johnson Stewart brings this forward in conversation and in cooperation and collaboration with leaders in our communities, including our law enforcement leaders, who say that there is so much support they need and it's not just talking about how to operate these vehicles safely, but it's helping retailers, helping with internet sales, which is a giant problem. Mr. President, I just invite everyone to open up the newspaper, do a search. We heard about the incredibly tragic accident in Senator Seeberger's district. That experience is being replicated all over the state, all over the metro area. And this idea is very, very well founded because it's someone who can, in this emerging issue, help people understand better a whole bunch of issues. Schools, law enforcement, parents, retailers, and on, because it's fraught with a lot of confusion. It's emerging technology. Kids are being hurt and harmed terribly. Doctors are telling us that they are showing up in emergency rooms by the dozens and dozens every week, and they're looking for some help, and this person can provide that kind of help. Thank you, Mr. President.
The last voice we'll hear from is Senator Jaskowski to his A12 amendment. And then we'll vote because a roll call was requested and a roll call has been granted. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, I encourage a green vote on this. We have discovered through the discussion here, or maybe rediscovered for some of us, really the genesis of how legislation happens here that unnecessarily grows government. And this is one example. So we have a member get up and say, well, my mayor came to me, or my police chief, or my neighbor came to me, and they're afraid, and government is somehow going to placate that fear and fix it for them. And so we develop a bill, and we have $250,000 per biennium of funding for this, and we again get the ATM of the taxpayer out and just simply put the card in there, and guess what? It's cashed, right? Cold hard cash, right from the property tax statement, Mr. Chair. That's where it comes from, and so that's what we have. And guess what? The people paying the bill for that ATM machine, they don't get consulted. I don't think they consulted Senator Johnson Stewart. They didn't consult me. I'm gathering I haven't consulted, or other members haven't consulted property taxpayers around this state, or income taxpayers, or sales taxpayers, or any of the other multitude of taxpayers that we have in this state. God knows we tax everything in the state, Mr. President, and the taxpayers of Minnesota are fatigued right now. And so for us to have a bill before us that comes out and tries to tell them how to parent their kids and spend their money to tell them how to parent their kids when they're trying to make life go for themselves is among the biggest insults that this government can bestow upon those hardworking taxpayers of Minnesota. It's a shameful thing that we continue to do this. This is one small example. Let's spare the taxpayers of Minnesota this one last piece of shame, and let's wipe it from the bill and vote yes. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Secretary will take the roll on the A12 amendment. Senator Bowden, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Carlson votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Fate votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Marty votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Mann votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Zhang votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Wickland votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Mohammed votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Murphy votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Pappas votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Port votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Rest votes no.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes no.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
Senator Putnam votes no.
Senator Hochschild votes no.
Senator Hochschild votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
Senator Latz votes no.
And Mr. President, Senator Hemmingson Yeager votes no.
Senator Hemmingson Yeager votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Gruenhagen votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Johnson votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Miller votes aye.
Senator Nelson votes aye.
Senator Nelson votes aye.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen votes aye.
And Senator Rasmussen votes aye. All senators having voted who desires to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 33 ayes and 33 noes, the A12 amendment is not adopted. Any additional amendments? Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. No more amendments, but a question for the author if she would yield.
Is it okay if I go to third reading
yes,
since there are no more amendments? Is that okay? The Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
Senate File Number 3236, a bill for an act relating to public safety requiring helmets for operators of electric-assisted bicycles under the age of 18.
Third reading, Senator Jaskowski, for your questions or your discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the author yield?
Senator Johnson Stewart, she will yield. Senator Jaskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Senator Johnson Stewart, I'm kind of intrigued. We already have a prohibition in the law where we already are nanny stating kids under 15 currently are not allowed to operate an e-bike according to law. So I have some questions around that. One, what is the penalty if Johnny's 14 and he's riding an e-bike? And how many are there kids violating this law at this point? Those are my two questions. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Johnson Stewart to his question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski, for the question. The answer to your question is that if stopped and charged, they would be charged with a misdemeanor. We don't really have data on how many of those tickets are happening. That's one of the provisions in this bill, is that we would start to gather both crash data, but also the safety coordinator would start to look at that information. The reality is police right now are unsure of the law, and many of the labeling requirements that are already in statute are not being enforced, so this would just start with the public information campaign.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. So, members, think about that. Johnny's 14, and he rides an e-bike, and he gets a misdemeanor. Are we living in the real world here, Mr. President? A misdemeanor. Members, think about that. In the formative years of development, a 14-year-old, you get a misdemeanor because you rode an e-bike. Where are we going? And I'm just going to, instead of asking you to yield, Senator Johnson Stewart, I'm just going to offer this question rhetorically and leave it with that. So we know there's a number of kids that are under 15 that are continuing to ride e-bikes, even though we have the law here. My question to you is this: do you think those kids are going to wear a helmet? Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. I know we've had a little fun with our discussion so far, but I want to make a couple of more serious comments briefly. I know sometimes our cities or local governments don't want to be the bad guy, and sometimes they look for the state then to come up with a law. And I know that sometimes that uniformity across the state can be a good thing, especially when it comes to definitions. And so I do applaud the author of the bill for taking the time to provide what would be some common definitions for the state to work off of if we're going to provide, some ordinances or some regulation regarding e-bikes. I'll be the first one to tell you, in my opinion, some regulation is needed in some respect for safety purposes. Serving on the fire department in Lakeville, I've responded to medical calls. We certainly have had calls in which accidents are happening, kids or others are getting hurt. There was a very tragic incident in the city of Lakeville not that long ago where a young man lost his life on one of these types of vehicles or contraptions, and nobody really kind of knew what to do or what we should consider them or what sort of ordinances or laws we should consider or give some thought to. So there is a seriousness to this discussion that I think needs to be put front and center at some point, whether it's the state's role to solve it or our local cities. I think there's some shared responsibility there. And speaking of shared responsibility, that's the last thing I want to touch on, the enforcement aspect of this. And not to sound like the old grumpy guy, but if parents were doing maybe a little bit of a better job regarding their kids and what they're allowing them to do or not do, especially on e-bikes or scooters, whether or not they are wearing appropriate safety clothing, etc., that would solve about 99.9% of this problem. And so really, that's where this issue, I think, can make the most progress. I happen to live right next to a school. I see kids, whether it's on e-bikes or scooters, flying down the public path at speeds they shouldn't be. And I've got a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 4.5-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old out on their bikes and scooters in the cul-de-sac or on that same path. And there are some blind spots there. So collectively, whether it's the state, whether it's your local unit of government, whether it's you as a parent accepting the responsibility that comes with having kids, we all need to work together to make these things a lot more safe and prevent accidents or tragedies from happening in the first place, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in a unique position on this bill. There was Senator Coleman had a bill. I don't know if I was more up to date on this particular bill, I would know how it turned into what it was. But the heart of the bill, which says that e-bikes aren't motorcycles, pretty much, and tries to square away the definitions, is a really good thing. And somehow, I can't comment on how it got to where it got, but it got to here through some way, and here we are, and it e-biked its way and turned into e-moto, I guess, from what it started out as. This bill used to be just about free, and now it spends about $600,000 over the next couple of years. And it's really complicated. And we had an interesting hearing when Senator Coleman was gone one day and unavailable, and so I got to bring the bill to a hearing in the Transportation Committee as one of the co-authors. We had quite a good discussion, and I thought the bill made a lot of sense, and it seemed like this is the kind of bill that would become a law that people would appreciate. It has now evolved into something much more, which sometimes there's a thing, Mr. President, called the improvement bug. Like you're going to fix up your house, and they say, well, let's actually change the colors inside. Let's get carpet. Well, yeah, let's add a room. And all you want to do is, like, you know, get a new couch. And suddenly you've outcosted yourself, and you have this mess in your house. This bill could have gone forward, I think, just the way it was. And now it's going to cost $600,000 or so over the next biennium. Why is that important, Mr. President? It's only $600,000. $600,000, that's like hardly anything. Well, Mr. President, we were informed maybe, I don't know, 84 hours ago or something that the Human Services Committee had a target of minus $300 million over the next 3 years, by surprise. And so that $300 million is going to fund cash into the general fund for everything you can imagine. And so if you look at the things in the big global agreement, the deal, that spend $300 million that you're not so proud of, that you think we could have done better on, that's money spent on the backs of people with disabilities, seniors, people, the poorest of the poor, the sickest of the sick. And so $600,000, actually, if this passes, could potentially be tied into that. Those are the choices we're making. You know, Mr. President, back in 2023, we had a surplus of $18 billion, and a lot of us weren't involved in how we were going to spend that money. And so now we spend ourselves into a deficit. And so the answer by the leaders of this place is to cut people with disabilities to balance the budget. Meetings that actually our own leader wasn't even invited to. So, Mr. President, vote, you'll vote for the bill how you like. I was wishing this bill could have been smaller. I wish the bill could have been focused on what it could have done in the beginning. And I ran into the bikers, the e-bike people last night. They were hanging around, and they are kind of grieving where this bill has got to. They're not supporting it. It used to be a white hat one, Mr. President, and now it's just a do what you want. But I want to remind you, when you vote for this bill and all the other bills still to spend money, general fund, make sure that what we're spending it on is something really much more important than people with disabilities, than people who need adult daycare, than people who need a wheelchair attendant, than people who need to find overnight help so they can maybe live getting out of bed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to Senator Johnson Stewart for bringing this bill and for allowing me to be a co-author. This is a need that I'm glad we're able to fill here today in the Minnesota Senate. And there's been some reference to a constituent of mine who was really seriously injured by a child on an electronically powered two-wheel system. And it's funny trying to describe what it is, but it wasn't funny what happened to her. She sustained a brain injury. She was hospitalized for a long time. I'm sure her medical bills exceeded $600,000. And it was an accident that never should have happened. This device that this child was riding, number one, he was too young to be on it under current law as it is today. I believe he was 13 years old. Number two, he had no insurance on something that was actually a motorcycle. Number three, he was riding the thing on the sidewalk. All kinds of laws were broken that day, and it resulted in a tragic injury to my constituent. There's clarity needed when it comes to these devices. I have an e-bike. It's great.
I live in a hilly area. It helps me get up the hills. I'm a little older than I was when I was a younger person. And it's a fun way to get around in my rural town of Afton. But I've also seen in Hastings, in Cottage Grove, in Lake Elmo, I have seen young people flying down the roads and sidewalks incredibly fast on these electronically powered two-wheeled transportation devices that really cannot realistically be called an e-bike. So I'm grateful for the work of Senator Johnson Stewart. I'll be a yes on this bill, and I look forward to enacting further protections for my constituents and for everyone here in the state of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion before we go to the author of the bill, before we vote for final passage? Seeing none, Senator Johnson Stewart, your closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. I want to correct myself. A child who gets pulled over for riding underage would be subject to a petty misdemeanor, which I've been told is different than a misdemeanor. So I just want to be sure to talk about that. I see that Senator Coleman is in the chamber. I want to thank her for her work on this. I really appreciate Senator Duckworth's comments, so thank you for that as well. One thing I didn't talk about was all of the inputs that I've gotten from local schools and principals. Members, I would encourage you this summer, well, not this summer, before school ends, to go to a middle school in your district where no child should be older than age 15 unless they've gone through a few grades a few times. So theoretically, there should be no child in middle school riding an e-bike to middle school. And yet, I live a block and a half away from Central Middle School in Wayzata. There's a ton of e-bikes in that biking parking area. Okay, I gotta hurry up here. Anyway, so we know that it's a problem. We know that parents are buying these bikes and they don't understand that their children shouldn't be using them. Lastly, I'll just hurry up here, Mr. President. These funds for this position and for the public education campaign are coming from the Active Transportation Fund. That is money that's already been appropriated out of the general fund, and so this money is well positioned to fund something like this. I'm grateful to my researcher, Danny Gillis, and I would encourage a green vote. Thank you for the good debate.
The Secretary will take the roll for final passage on Senate File number 3236. Members, please vote. Senator Bowden, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Carlson votes aye.
Senator Fateh votes aye.
Senator Fateh votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Mann votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Zhang votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Wickland votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Pappas votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Port votes aye.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes aye.
Senator Umu Verbatim votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Putnam votes aye.
Senator Hochschild votes aye.
Senator Hochschild votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Latz votes aye.
Senator Hemmingsen-Yager votes aye.
Senator Hemmingsen-Yager votes aye.
And Senator Hoffman votes aye.
And Senator Hoffman votes aye. Senator Jasinski, for those voting pursuant to Rule 40.7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Draheim votes no.
Senator Gruenhagen votes no.
Senator Gruenhagen votes no.
Senator Housley votes no.
Senator Housley votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Miller votes no.
Senator Nelson votes no.
Senator Nelson votes no.
And thank you, Mr. President. Senator Rasmussen votes no.
And Senator Rasmussen votes no. All members having voted who desire to vote, the secretary will close the roll. There being 34 ayes and 33 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Members, just a couple things. It is my understanding that there's going to be a motion for a recess and only a skeleton crew is needed, and they can explain why. But if there are any announcements of Senate interest, I'll take those now so that if you don't come back, you will have major announcements. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have an announcement of Senate interest. I just want to let members know Friday is one of the busiest meat raffle nights around the Twin Cities. You can do a quick Google search, find all the local meat raffles happening tonight. I encourage you to go to one, visit it, have a great time. You may not know this, Senator Ann Rest, huge fan of meat raffles. She'll probably be at one this evening as well. Thank you.
Any other announcements of Senate interest? Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Right after this, the bubble wrap lobbyists will be meeting in my office. Thank you.
Make sure you have more than the bubble wrap. All right, any other announcements of Senate interest? Senator Westrom.
Mr. President, just want to respond to the exchange we had, and I heard your response. I appreciate that. I would just like to direct attention to the whole statement that's in 103 and not part of it, which is where I think you and I have a little disagreement, but not a big disagreement, Mr. President, but it does say the proposer or the author has the right to speak after another member wishing to speak has spoken. That is the phrase I would just like to direct all of our attention to, and you, Mr. President, because that's the piece that seems like when another member wishes to speak, you were passing over, and that's the challenge. So not trying to carry it on longer, Mr. President. I did read over the decorum, but hopefully that, if we read it in its entirety, then it works well, because then the author just, if they want to speak again, certainly that would be their right. But sometimes an author closing remarks does spark another interest or wish to speak, and so that's what I'd just like to make sure we read the whole sentence together, because that is specifically in that rule. And you read it, but I just think we don't want to have selective interpretation of just one piece of that. So announcement of Senate interest, that's my reason for standing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Members, let me give you this reply in your announcements of Senate interest, because I read the entire piece. I didn't read a portion of the piece. And the piece I think that the body must embrace is, when the right of closing is not set out in rules, the privilege is often granted by custom. Our custom has been, at least for the last 4 years, that once we give a notice for everyone to speak before the author, we then reserve that time for the author to speak and close. So I want to make sure that we're very clear about that, because that's been our custom, and I have not deviated from that custom. The only time I've deviated is when I say to someone, well, you know, this is what we have said that we were going to do. Sometimes, like today, Senator Kroon, he's not the only person that has sometimes said to me, I want to make sure that I'm right before the author, because they work so closely together on the bill. And so I just want to make sure that our custom is making certain that everyone has a chance to speak before we go to the author, and then once we go to the author, they have the last word on the bill. So, Senator Westrom, thank you, and I will see you in 2 and 2 anyway. Anyone else, any other announcements of Senate interest? Senator Johnson, I'm sorry that I missed you earlier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just for a little clarity on the floor, would Senator Murphy yield for a question?
Senator Murphy, will you yield? She will yield. Senator Johnson.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Murphy, I know we're coming back with a skeleton crew. Is that set in stone then? We're not going to be anticipating any more floor votes today?
Senator Murphy, to the question.
Thank you, Mr. President and Leader Johnson. That is correct. We're anticipating committee reports to come from Finance, but don't intend to take up any more bill work yet this afternoon.
Senator Johnson.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. In that case, Senate Republicans will be caucusing upstairs following the floor.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a question for you. Who will be the last voice we hear before we adjourn for this beautiful day?
For you, that's going to be Senator Murphy or Senator Johnson, because you're going to caucus. So he's going to have the last word up there, I'm certain. Any other announcements of Senate interest? Seeing none, Senator Murphy for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I call a recess to the call of the President.
On that motion, all in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. The Senate is now in recess.